All right, guys, we're here. We're live. Welcome to a brand new Poker Life podcast. My name is Jordan One, aka Chicago Joey, joined today by someone.
You froze.
You might not even have any idea what not you just saw what he looks like, but you might not have any idea what he looks like. You might not know that he's got this sick beard. He's got the tan that I'm not quite sure how the hell he gets this tan or how he gets this shade of color on his skin, but as someone who enjoys being tan, it's definitely something I'm jealous of. And we got Joe Stapleton in the house today. What's up, Joe?
How's it going, man? I think that's the first time I've ever been described as tan and or sick beard. Like sometimes my beard has sick in it, like throw up, but it's rarely referred to as a positive thing. I don't think it's just poor lighting in this room or good lighting. I think it's pretty flattering lighting. I'm going to take it. Joe, thanks for having me on your show, man. People have been bugging me about it for a really long time. So I'm happy to be on here finally. And I'm not going to lie, I used to be like sort of the only Joe doing poker media stuff. And I used to be the only Stapes doing poker media stuff. So now there's another Joe that does fun poker stuff. And now there's a guy named Staples too. And I got to tell you, it's a little annoying that I no longer own the patent on Joe or Staples.
Well, I mean, I don't want to. I was going to say I don't want to send any shots at anybody, but I think one of the names you still got locked up for quite a long time. So I don't think you got to worry about that.
Let's hope so. No, I like you guys though. I like when I was doing stuff like podcasting and we didn't have video web streaming in my day, but I did a lot of podcasts and different articles and stuff. So and I always thought the people who had been around longer than me that did interviews and came on the show were super cool dudes. So I'm just trying to be a cool guy.
Trying to be cool. Well, so for those that don't know who you are, or haven't heard your voice before. If you haven't heard your voice before, you probably never watched anything poker related, pretty much ever, because I feel like your name has been out there in so many different cash games, tournaments. I mean, pretty much a ton of places. So how long have you been doing the poker stuff for? You mentioned you were doing podcasts before. So you're mainly a comedian. I know on your Twitter profile it says comedian first and then poker second. So how did you get to be like the voice of
it's more like wishful thinking that I put comedian first, to be perfectly honest. Like I moved to LA a long time ago, like in 2002, to be like a comedy writer. And I didn't really work very hard at it. So I was never very successful at it. I just thought all of a sudden one day I was working with this TV show called Mad TV, and what gave birth to the comedy duo Key and Peele. I don't know if you've ever heard of those guys, but they were both on the show at the time. And I just figured that that someone there would just make me a comedian eventually. Like they would just be like, okay, you worked here long enough. Here's your your card carrying comedian now. And that never really happened. And then what happened was I started working in poker around 2005. I became a blogger for Card Player. And I was the blogger that couldn't help. Me and my friend Scott Huff, who used to work in poker a long time ago, probably people don't really know who he is that much anymore, but we started together and we were the two guys that couldn't resist being funny. And the two of us were like, look, poker in and of itself is like, can be kind of dry and can be kind of boring. And we need to make people have a good time and we need to entertain people first. And no one believed us. No one listened to us. I got fired pretty much. And then slowly but surely people were like, oh, wow, we want to do more fun poker stuff. So I got pretty lucky and I got asked to host a podcast back in like 2007 with Joe Seabach and Gavin Smith. That was called Poker Wire Radio. That turned into Poker Road Radio. I did a bunch of podcasts and shows for Poker Road. I did my own podcast called Two Jacks in the Hole, which had nothing to do with poker. And just sort of from there, people became fans of me and of my partner at the time, Scott Huff. People became fans of us such to the point where when the big game was coming around, which was going to be this brand new big cash game show from PokerStars, guys like Daniel Negreanu and Barry Greenstein, a guy named John Caldwell works for PokerStars, were all huge fans of mine. And they were like, this guy's never done anything before, but it's him. It's got to be him. It's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy. So I was really lucky to get asked to do the big game. And then, Big Black Friday happened. Well, I like how I just called it Big Black Friday. That seems somewhat racist, but also kind of cool. Big, huge Black Cock Friday happened. And so then I got sort of, I would, put it comically as banished to Europe, but I got really lucky. I got super lucky that PokerStars was like, look, we're not making shows in America anymore, so we want you to come do the EPT in Europe. And I do feel like a lot of people in America are very American-centric in the programming that they watch. And if people get nothing else out of this, if you guys haven't seen the EPT, we do a really fun show. I've done well over 100 episodes of the EPT since the big game ended. And so if you're missing that poker on TV fix, there's other stuff out there that maybe you're just not aware of in America.
You find that, there's like a ton of follow-ups to what you just said right there. First, I actually forgot about the Two Jacks in the Hole you did, because I used to love the Poker Road podcast. I mean, I love the one with Parala Bob. I love the regular like Poker Road one with Joe Seabach and Gavin Smith and Ali Nashad. I always listen to you and Scott. I mean, that was like my site for maybe like a year and a half, and then until it kind of just disappeared, sort of thing. But man, I really enjoyed those podcasts. I guess so you got to the big game part through those podcasting and through meeting those people and then making those good impressions with them, and that's kind of how you got there.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of people who ask me, like young folks who are like, hey, how do you make it? How do you do this? And how do you become this or that? And all I can do is say the way that I got there, which is like, you do a lot of stuff for free. You do a lot of stuff for the love of the game to practice it. I imagine, Joe, I don't mean to be insulting, but I imagine you're not getting rich off of this show just yet.
I was just going to say the same. I was going to say that's exactly pretty much what I've been doing.
Yeah, and so you're doing something that you really enjoy doing, and you're good at it, and people like it, and that's what you do. So then all of a sudden one day someone says, hey, we got some money to spend on this. Who do we know that's out there that's good at this? And then they look to you.
Well, were you making any money when you were doing that? When you were in that state, like, were you doing something else for money? Were you how were you paying the bills?
Yeah, I actually kept working at Mad TV. Basically, I left Mad TV to go do Poker Wire, and then when the UIGEA happened, Poker Wire was owned by Full Tilt, and Full Tilt was just like, look, UIGEA happened. We're probably not going to be spending that much money on marketing anymore, so we're going to kill this show. Went away. I went back to Mad TV, and then what happened was I just worked out Barry Greenstein and Joe Seabach when they started Poker Road were so generous that they said, look, we think that you're brilliant and that you will be a huge asset to this site. So even if you can't be on the road hosting Poker Road Radio, that's when they got Ali, we will pay you. It was some very nominal fee. It was like basically about the same amount that I was getting when I was on unemployment in California. But it was something. Like, it kept me afloat and it kept me alive, and they paid me a really fair wage to do like 2 podcasts a week from LA, to do 2 Jacks in the Hole, and to do some producing. I did like a bit for, I don't know if you ever listened to The Poker Beat, was one that Huff did with like Caldwell and Dan Mahowski. And I used to do a little thing at the end there called The Tight Laydown, where I would play this character who just basically insulted all the stories that had been on that week. And yeah, so I made a little bit of money from that, worked for Mad TV on the side. I picked up little writing gigs here and there in LA. I wrote like a web series that never got picked up, but it did like make it into the LA Comedy Shorts Awards. And I did write there was this animated series on the web called Position of the Day, which was like based on like a really famous book of like sex positions, but they're all like a joke. And I wrote a few episodes of that. I like piece things together here and there. And then, and not a lot of people know this, and then I dated a professional poker player for a while named Christy Gazes, who was a Full Tilt pro. And basically, she was like my sugar mama. She was just like, look, you want to be a writer? Be a writer. Live in my house. Don't pay any rent. My only real responsibilities were like to please her physically and to feed her. I would like get us like 3 meals a day, like basically take care of that. And then she took care of everything else.
Okay, so I gotta say that I literally always tell guys out there that are younger and that can't, on here, on the podcast, on the live stream, I say, if you're younger and you're trying to make it out there but you got no money, find a rich older woman. It's called the RGG, the rich girl grind. Find a rich older woman, satisfy her sexually, make sure she's happy and taken care of, and then she'll have no problem supporting you. And you actually you did that. Okay, that's
yeah. That's yeah. And I honestly, I don't want to make it seem like it was too lascivious of a thing. Like we were in love and we lived together, and it was a great relationship. And she is honestly one of the coolest girlfriends I've ever had. But yeah, that did happen for a while too. That like kind of got me through because Mad TV got canceled in 2009 and I didn't really have another job. Oh, and then what happened also is right after that. See, I mean, look, I've had a lot of help from people. I can't say, you know, like I said, Barry and Joe helped me out. Christy helped me out. And then when I broke up with Christy, I lived on Amanda Leatherman's couch for like 6 months for free. Like she didn't charge me a dime in rent. We lived in like a studio apartment, me and Amanda in Los Angeles. And while that was going on is when they were sort of talking about putting me in the big game. So it was, I just kind of squeaked by somehow.
Definitely grinded it out, man. Yeah, I mean, I think when you ask a lot of people, you mentioned a lot of people probably ask you like, hey, what do I do? Like if I want to get involved or if I want to advance, like how can I go upon it? And I think for, as you said, a lot of the stuff you have to do for free. And the only reason really I'm able to do this is because I still play poker for a living. So, but if I didn't play poker for a living, I'd either go on the rich girl grind or you'd have to grind it out kind of like you did, where you're just like, you know, you're just looking for, you gotta just make it work. You know what I mean? It might not be the best accommodations. It might not be the best situation. I think even as trying to become a successful poker player, whether it's live or online, I think that happens also. You got to put yourself in these situations that aren't the most glamorous at the time with the hope that at some point in time, if I keep at it, I'll be able to get to this point now where you don't have to sleep. Oh, wait, are you still sleeping on couches though? You might still, I don't know.
I mean, look, I don't turn down an opportunity. I don't really turn down an opportunity to sleep at a girl's house.
That's what I mean. I don't either.
But no, I'm very lucky at this point. PokerStars has been good to me the last few years. I get plenty of work from them. But I will say also this, and I can't really recommend this. During that time, I ran up a huge debt, like a crazy amount of credit card debt that I just paid off around the first of this year. So we're talking like almost 10 years later that I'm just getting out of the debt of my 20s. And I think that a lot of people that want to do stuff like this, you do also kind of have to ask yourself, like, and man, this is such a shitty thing to have to say, but like, do I have it? Do I have any talent? And your friends will give you some kind of indication. Your friends will be like, well, how much longer do you think you're going to keep trying to do this? And people will be honest with you. And if people start telling you like, hey, maybe you should give up, then I would probably think about that because not everyone is going to make it, you know, doing their dream job or whatever. And also, I think a lot of people want to do stuff like that because they see it as an easy path rather than a path that they really enjoy. And if you enjoy something and you're good at it, I do think eventually you can get paid at it.
That's a really good point. I think, yeah. One thing poker specific, I think that some people might view as like a way to get paid right now is Twitch, for example. I think a lot of people are hopping on Twitch. Monetize myself somehow. I can get donations, or I can sell a coaching package, or I can sell this or sell that. And I think that's like the best poker specific example that I think people can kind of. You know, what's your experience with Twitch so far? Like, it seems like everyone's talking about it in a positive way. I know PokerStars, they're doing the EPT streams on there. What's your guys' like take? What do you guys think about it from your guys' perspective?
I do agree with you that a lot of people are sort of. First of all, I think that there's plenty of value in Twitch, but I don't think it could be any more bandwagon-y if like the Rolling Stones had decided to like jump on the Oregon Trail. I mean, it is just the epitome of that, which is why for the most part, I've avoided doing it personally because I'm afraid of like just looking like someone that's jumping on it. I don't have a lot to offer poker strategy wise, right? So I don't really know what I would do. I was thinking maybe I would jump on there and just play Tetris or something like that, and just to see like what it's actually like. But I do, other than all that, I think that there is a crazy amount of value in it for the industry, and there is a crazy amount of value in it for certain individual people. But all I know is that if every single person in the world has a Twitch stream, who is left to watch the Twitch streams? So some of them are going to have to go away eventually. Some of them people are going to have to give up. But I do think that there is obviously, like, you know, poker is in rough shape right now, the poker industry and the poker business, and we need to get more eyeballs on poker, and we need to get more people who, you know, interested in the game. And Twitch seems to be like a huge place to do that. And we sort of run into the problems right now. We're like, look, I've always wanted to be in television, and I didn't really admit to myself I wanted to be on television until it actually happened. And now I'm super into it, and I want to stay on television, whether it's poker or otherwise. But TV, like, I don't know about you, Joe, but like, look, I date a lot, okay? So I meet a lot of people.
This is going right down my alley right here, man. Okay, let's go.
So I meet a lot of people, specifically girls, but I got to tell you, out of like the last 100 girls I've met, like 6 of them own a television. And so like they watch TV shows, they'll watch like House of Cards or watch something off Netflix, but they don't own a TV. And so I don't think that poker on TV is reaching the maximum number of people that it can be still. So we need to find new places to do that. I think Twitch is one of those. Like the people who are on Twitch are exactly the kind of people that we want, that would typically be attracted to playing poker.
Mm-hmm. What other ways do you think that that people can be reached now? I mean, when you think about it, there's, like, so YouTube is a place that someone can find it, but really if they're not watching it on TV, how can how can people find it? And you're like, well, how do you think there's a way to get it to them if they're not watching TV? And if they go online and they're looking for something specific on Netflix or on, Hulu or any of the streaming services, like how can we reach those people?
Well, I can't really say specifically. I mean, I think one way would be that think about what got us interested in poker, right? And there were 2 big things. Obviously, there's the Chris Moneymaker thing was really big. And then there was Rounders, right? Like how many people saw the movie Rounders, had never heard of poker before, and were like, wow, this is really cool. So I think that we need some kind of some kind of possibly even scripted or, something that makes poker look cool again, that reminds people that poker is there, whether it's a TV show or whether it's a movie, and something that is not super heavy handed. The problem now is that like everyone is really media savvy, right? So even when you try to promote poker online or say, click this link or whatever, everyone knows about that stuff. So what you really need to do is convince people that poker is fun first before trying to sell them something. And I'm not sure what the exact medium is to do that. Yeah.
Also, I mean, I think poker's fun. I would argue how fun is it to new people? Because losing money, not always the most fun thing, I think, for people.
Yeah, but so I'm not talking about like playing Omaha online. I'm talking about, look, how I started playing poker was my friends got together. We played a $5 tournament. And those are probably, now at the time we didn't have any money, right? So now we get together and we probably play like a $40 or a $60 tournament just so it means a little bit. But like, those are the kinds of things that I think that really attract people to playing poker. And it's just about how do we get them to sit down for the first time, but making it a social thing, making it a fun thing, and not necessarily, I think that unfortunately, like, people have gotten really good at poker. People are amazing at poker, but it's turned into this elite thing, this thing that's really intimidating, this thing where everyone's really good at it. Everyone is lol bad. Everyone is check out this fish, check out this loser, check out this terrible play, listen to this horrible commentary. And look, I'm on the business end of it. Sometimes I make mistakes. Like I'm not exactly like the greatest poker player. I'm not even close to the greatest poker player in the world. I'm not the greatest poker analyst in the world. And I think that people are really missing the forest for the trees, and that the more elite of a game we make it, the more exclusive we make it, then all you heroes can play each other. You guys can all trade each other's money back and forth and let the house take all the rake. But we need to make poker fun.
Mm-hmm. I think with your side of announcing, it seemed like for a bit you kind of were you trying to talk a little bit more, I guess, strategy, because it seemed like for a while everyone was like, we want strategy on everything. We like strategy, everything's fucking strategy. They want strategy every single place. And it seems like that's sort of changed now, where they don't want as much strategy as far as when they focus on the commentary on the tournaments. Now did that happen on your end, and now you're kind of maybe not trying to be so analytical about things when you're discussing hands or you're discussing situations?
Well, it depends. Like, it depends on what the situation is. Like on the TV shows, I get them ahead of time, right? So I still work with Jimmy Fricke, with Gobble Boy ahead of time, watching the TV shows and making sure that I understand what is happening on a high level. Now, I do pretty much at this point understand most of it, and don't necessarily, I don't want to say I don't need him, but I can pick up most of it on my own, because I've certainly have learned a lot over the last few years. So we try to cram a lot of analysis into the TV shows. Most of what I do now, though, is the live streaming. We do way more hours of live streaming every year than we do on on television. I've been getting prepared for this podcast.
Oh, nice. I mean, you should have told me. I would have drank too. I love drinking on these.
Bar, a couple of trips to the mini bar. By the way, I'm in Monaco, so that's like $400 worth of goods right there. So now what we do is mostly live commentary, and it's mostly cards down commentary, which is just not something I'm probably ever going to be that great at being an analyst at, because I'm not a poker player. Like, I'm genuinely not. I'm like a guy that goes plays poker on a Saturday night for like 3 or 4 hours, and that's it. And so I don't attempt to do much analysis because I don't like being wrong, and B, I don't like being wrong. I just don't like feeling stupid. And so I also just don't think that the weird thing is that, like, the people in the audience who are going to be most offended by bad analysis are people who are going to play poker regardless. And I'm sorry, but like, I'm not as interested in them. Yes, I want the respect of my peers. Yes, I want people who are like my big detractors online to be like, oh, wow, Stapes really nailed this one. But honestly, I care way more about the guy who has never watched poker before going like, this dude's kind of funny. This dude makes me want to play poker, than I care about like nailing top level analysis.
It's an interesting way to go upon it, because I think I hear a lot of really good feedback in terms of if people mention your name or like in a chat or in a live stream on 2+2, but obviously there are those like guys who are, you know, as you said, the guys who are like, oh, he got this wrong, or he said this that wasn't right. You know what I mean? And that's actually, it seems like a pretty good approach to take with it, where you're like, all right, if these guys don't like it, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think that matters too much. These guys are going to keep playing poker. But for the recreational out there, I think that's a really good approach to actually take with it.
Yeah, you know, it's just, and also it's for me, like I think the key demographic, I'm the kind of person that all the heroes should want playing poker. I'm like a donator, right? I'm like a 100, when I played online poker, I was a $100 a week or more depositor, and I just want to be entertained and have a good time. And I think that's the kind of person that we should be attracting. And so a lot of times I make the shows to entertain myself. Because if I'm being entertained, then I think people like me will be also.
You know, it's really interesting because I make these to entertain myself for myself. And you know, what's funny is that I actually have the same approach you have, except just switched around. So I ideally want to make these type of things for the people who do play professionally, kind of like myself. And for the people who are more beginners, I don't necessarily like, you know, cater everything I say or the discussions to them. But I think they'll still enjoy it on some level, and then they can kind of learn to enjoy it too. But it's basically the exact same approach. It's just kind of
there's certainly it's just keep, you know, look, if you do something, if you're like a savvy person and you do something that entertains you, chances are it's going to entertain other people also. And I think also, like, you know, what your particular approach is, that I don't think you have to talk down to the audience, by the way. I think that the audience in a way likes hearing stuff that they can't really follow, as long as there's not too much of it. They like being a part of that club, and they will learn it eventually. Like the first time you sit down to watch NFL, you have no fucking clue what's happening. Like I remember being a kid watching NFL, and it's actually a pretty simple game. Obviously there's tons of nuance to it and it gets pretty complicated, but you know, like there's just different ways to go about doing things for sure. And my whole thing is just, I just want to entertain people first. And your approach of going after the heroes and stuff like that actually can't go wrong, because there will come a time like those people have influence. So I don't know, what is it that you're looking to do, by the way? Do you want to have a job in broadcasting? Are you just purely doing this for fun?
I think it's more of just, when I started, it was kind of more PLO focused, because I didn't think there was no entertaining content that really catered to the no community. And that's what I love. That's what I'm most active in. I still play that every day. So it's like, I wanted to make something that was for the PLO guys. But then I felt like a lot of people who also play poker were scared away by PLO, just the PLO word. They don't understand the game. And not a lot of my stuff is really like PLO centric, but we do still have mainly PLO players on before. So then I started branching out, getting more no limit guys, tournament guys from different. Always play poker. I don't see myself like stopping playing poker live or online. It's just, content, just something for people to watch and enjoy. And because I feel like there's sometimes not that much out there that you can, I guess, really enjoy right now. That's not necessarily like some people, there's a lot of tournaments out there to watch, but I think a lot of people might not watch tournaments anymore. You know what I mean? There's been so many tournaments.
Well, yeah, there's only so many times you can say like, oh, it's ace king versus ace queen and so is eliminated in 7th place. Like, I totally agree. I think that there are other facets of poker that we haven't explored yet. PLO is certainly one of them. PLO traditionally isn't really seen as a source of entertainment because it's hard to follow. There's twice as many cards and there's lots of more things happening, and there's something to that. You have to appeal to a mass audience, but poker also has always sort of been about the niche audience. So I think that chasing that and doing something that's unique and different, even if it is not, even if it sort of does exclude some people, eventually that can translate into other things too. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad approach. And certainly you've found success. Like, there are plenty of people that watch your show. So, and people seem to really love it. The people who love it are psychotic.
Wait, what do you mean? What have they been saying to you?
Nothing bad, but it's just people are just super amped to have me on the show. I see tweets from Lex and other poker players who've been on here, and everyone seems to have a really good time. So, and like I said, I think that's what's most important is you having a good time, your audience has a good time, and then your message is a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, I took the PLO out of the title for a little. I kind of had a different name in mind. So
Good move.
I made Poker Life the name, but we still have a lot of PLO guys on here, and it's still kind of something I always talk about with a lot of people. Do you play any PLO? Do you play any poker at all? Are you just strictly on that side of things? You don't want to really gamble the money away?
I play a little bit of poker. I have no interest in being a professional poker player. Like, I always say that, like, if I played a tournament like as a one-off and I won it, you would literally never see me again. Like, I would never play another poker tournament ever again. I'm not one of those guys that would like immediately go start playing like in Bobby's room or like over at the in Ivy's room at the Aria. Like, I'm just not. I have no interest in that at all. I would spend all my money on booze and women and boats and then not play poker anymore. But I do like playing poker. For me, poker is a hobby. Poker is a hobby the way video games are. I don't want to be a professional video game player. Yes, it's nice to win at poker when I go play cash games and I walk out with more money than I walked in with. It's a great feeling, but I don't really have any desire to be the best in the world at that. I would rather be the best comedian in the world. I'd rather be the best actor in the world. I'd rather be the best television host in the world. And to be really good at something, you got to put in the time for it. And I just don't want to put in that kind of time playing poker. I have no problem going and playing poker for 8 hours. That's super fun. But I don't want to do it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. No chance.
We got to give we got some interesting comments in here. P-Man86, he said, Joey, how was the picture of my girlfriend that I sent you on Twitter? So last time P-Man86 came in the chat, said something about a girlfriend, alleged she was hot. So he sent a photo on Twitter of her in a bathing suit. So P-Man, I'm not sure if you just took that from the internet and that's actually your girlfriend. So you're going to need to send me a little bit more, better receipt. You got to be in the photo, maybe a sign or something like that.
In the photo, maybe she should be holding today's newspaper. I mean, if she's your girlfriend, it really shouldn't be a problem, right? We need proof of life. Exactly.
So I appreciate you sending me that picture, but we're going to need a little bit better picture. So but thank you very much. Corey Kenyon said, this is actually a question I was wondering too. He said, are you meeting bum women? Are you meeting homeless women? Only 6 out of 100 have a television. And that's actually a good question. I was wondering that too. I feel like most of the women I meet have a television. What kind of women are you meeting that don't have a TV?
I think I'm meeting, look, and to be honest, I've lived in London for the last 2.5 years, so maybe the culture is a little bit different there, but I'm meeting a lot of the, sort of the intellectual, the types of girls that are into me aren't necessarily the former high school cheerleader crowd. They're more like the former valedictorian crowd. And I just, even to be perfectly honest, actually, no, I've dated recently. It's only now that I'm in like my early 30s that young girls are actually interested in me. Like when I was 23 years old, when I was 26, Christy was 40. When I was between the ages of 20 and 27, I didn't date a single person under the age of 30. Now that I'm 33, like my last two serious girlfriends when I met them. One was 19 and the other was like 20. And so these kids, they don't watch television. Like, they watch YouTube. Like, I was like, here, let's turn on my iTunes. And she's like, why would you do that when you can just type in every song individually you want to listen to on YouTube? And so things like, they're out all the time. They're on their phones. Everyone is like on tablets and stuff like that. So they don't have TVs. They're not homeless necessarily. They still got the gear. I just think that TV as like a thing, as like the centerpiece in your house, is on its way out.
So now that you're in your early 30s, you're on the YGG, the young girl grind. I think Daniel Negreanu is on that same thing too. He mentioned that he likes his women pretty young.
Yeah, Daniel has been doing well the last few years, from what I can tell. Daniel's a really good friend of mine. I haven't been able to see him that much in the last couple of years because like I said, I've been living in London. But Daniel and I have been on double dates together. There was a time where our girlfriends were really close friends, and the four of us used to hang out a lot. He used to come to my apartment and hang out in LA. Daniel's a blast, and I probably don't have to tell you guys, he's easily one of the best people in the world. Like, he's just an absolutely stellar guy.
Yeah, I met him for the first time out at the poker awards and conference and chatted with him for a bit. And I was like, oh man, you need to come on a podcast. I mean, obviously, like, you want to Daniel on a podcast no matter what. But when I met him and then we had a conversation for a while, I was like, oh yeah, you need to come on. Like, this would be great. Have him come on the podcast. So, and that was one thing I didn't really know about him before I met him. And that was definitely a takeaway. After I talked to him for a while, I was like, man, I can see why everyone loves him. And I can't understand why so many people have these I can understand why they have the negative things to say because of, a lot of people only see one or two things that might have happened. They don't actually see the full spectrum of the person.
Look, it's always easy to hate someone who's crazy successful. I mean, that's one of the easiest things in the world to be a hater. I mean, look, I find myself doing it sometimes, not with him specifically, but you see something, you're like, fuck that guy. Fuck him. Fuck that guy and all his success. You don't know him. You don't know anything about him, but it's like, it's easy to dislike someone who has what you want.
How do you deal with that personally? So I'm sure you get a lot of love. I'm sure you get a lot of positive feedback, but at the same time, I'm sure you get a lot of people like, you fucking suck. I hate you. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, how do you deal with, for that type of hate? Do you just like block, nothing, and then someone leaves maybe some constructive criticism, then you'll kind of take that in and figure out a way to maybe improve what you do? Or I guess, what's your approach to the negative?
I actually, some guy said something to me on Twitter a few weeks ago where he was like, yeah, no offense, bro, but you need a new fucking writer or something like that. And I wrote back and I put the little dot in front of it so that everyone could see it. And I was like, let me guess. I'm guessing that none of your 7 followers is a girlfriend. And this one guy in the poker media was like, whoa, dude, that's not cool. Like, that's a guy just offering constructive criticism and you're bullying him. And I was like, well, first of all, when you say the F word to me, it's like not really constructive criticism. And second of all, and I kind of stand by this, I don't want your constructive criticism. Like, I don't care. I don't want it. If you're just a random person, like, I'm happy to not read your constructive criticism at all. If you want to say something nice to me, that's great. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying I can't ever be improved, but like, just random strangers firing things at me on the internet saying like, you're not very good at this. Like, I'm probably never going to be very receptive to that. Like, I don't care. So typically what I do is someone's really mean to me, and it's not super hateful. Like, there's like, if like someone's used the N word or something before, so I wouldn't do it for that. But like, when people are like, you're terrible, how do you get your job? I just usually retweet them. And then one of the benefits of this, and I won't say it is not a reason why I do it, but it's not the main reason why I do it, is that people always just jump to my defense and tell that person what an idiot they are. So I don't really have to do it. I have a couple little go-to. Look, it does bug me a little bit when people say stuff to me. Sometimes I ignore it. Depends on what kind of mood I'm in. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll read it and then I'll go, okay, I'm going to go to bed. And if I wake up tomorrow and I still want to reply to this, then I will. I'll figure out some sort of reply. But I have some go-to lines now. One of my lines is someone tweets at me saying that the TV show is no good. I'll just write back and say, that's cool, man. What time is your show on? I'll be sure to watch it. And then my other one is when people say, how did you get your job? Or I can't believe that you get paid for this. I'll just write back, and you wouldn't believe how much fucking money they pay me. which are probably two really petty answers. But, you know, part of the thing, and I actually argue with my bosses about this, is that like, I feel like if you're going to be in a position to be trolled and to have people be negative to you, that you should at least get something out of it. Like you should get some mileage out of it. So when people are going to be rude to me and then I publicly shame them or turn it into an insult that I can at least get someone else to laugh at, then that's what I'm going to do. Like I'm going to parlay it into content. I got in a big fight with my boss actually in the last, where was it? It was in Deauville, where at the stop previous to that, she wasn't there. And there was this guy who was trolling me like crazy. And they had me do an on-camera piece where I pulled a name out of a hat for a prize for like a Sunday Million ticket.
No way. Okay.
And so I was like, I pulled it out and I was like, congratulations to like whatever, Tabitha, who wins the Sunday Million ticket. And I was like, and thank God it's not JT because he's a big fat troll and probably a huge loser. That's it for me. And then we cut out of it and that went to air like that. This guy had been trolling me. And so, which I thought was pretty funny. So then we did it again in Deauville where I had to pull a name out of a hat, but we had a dealer Kate, very beautiful girl who's now a floor person, dates Sam Grafton, pulls the name out of a hat. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write something on it and you just read it. So she pulls out, she's like, congratulations to Carlos. And she's like, and also, I feel really sorry for JT because he is a giant loser who will probably die a virgin, if not most certainly alone. And she reads it. And so then the footage goes up and my boss looks at it and she comes tearing down the stairs and she's like, what is this? And I was like, well, I just, you know, this guy's been trolling me all day. At first I was like, that's just a friend of mine. Don't worry about it. It's still like an inside joke to a friend. And she's like, is it really a friend? Or is it someone who's been trolling you today? I was like, it's a troll. And so she's like, look, it's very funny, but we're not using it and you have to redo it. And I was like really furious because I'm like, why can't we use it? The whole system now is supposed to be like, don't feed the trolls, don't respond to the trolls. And my whole thing is like, no, like if I can get some mileage out of it, if I can get some juice out of it and make something funny out of something horrible someone said to me, why not use it? Now we do disagree very infrequently, me and my boss, and she's great. But yeah, this was like sort of a big rift between us. And I'm such a little bitch when shit like this happens. Like I start pouting afterward. Like I'll go back in commentary and just sit there and not say anything for a while. Just be like, yep, So I get kind of passive aggressive. But yeah, the main reason I respond to trolls, there's two, is because to get some mileage out of it. And the other thing is that like this is not funny or a fun thing to talk about, but like I just want to like spread good in the world. And so I just want to be like, hey man, like what's wrong with you? Like, why would you say that? Like, I'm a total stranger and anyone who says something mean to someone on the internet that they've never met before should be dragged out of their house and beaten within an inch of their life. Like, it's just not, like, I just don't understand it. It baffles me. Like, I would never, ever, like, I've seen plenty of shit I haven't liked in my life and I've never once tweeted at someone or written to them saying, hey, you suck, you're the worst. Like, I just don't know why you would ever do that to someone. We actually had a thing with Martin Jacobson. Martin Jacobson tweeted, I wish PokerStars would hire some legit analysts instead of us having to listen to these two second-rate comedians or mediocre comedians. And here's the thing, right? I totally believe this. Martin did not tag me in the tweet. I don't follow Martin on Twitter. I don't think he follows me. I actually genuinely don't have a problem with that. Like, you want to say what you think. What I do have a problem with, and the whole internet jumped down his throat, and he apologized and wrote me several messages on Facebook, and it's totally cool. And I didn't have an issue, and I still don't now. And he handled it like true class, so I don't really mind. But what I have to say is that, like, okay, so let's say I go see whatever movie and I hate it. Like, I just tweet, this movie sucked. I would never tag the director. Like, I don't understand why people do that. So a lot of times when I reply to people, it's mostly just to say, like, hey, like, there's a human being here and you don't seem like a terrible person. So why would you do this thing that terrible people do?
So why did he apologize for it though? I mean, if that was sometimes you're going to say some things, not everybody's going to like it. So if that was his opinion at the time, why is he, I mean, I don't know. Why do people feel the need to apologize for things like that? Like, if I go on Twitter and I'm like, hey, this guy's fucking terrible, and then somebody gets mad about it, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry, you're not terrible. You know, like, if that was my opinion at one point, why, you know what I mean? Like, what's
Well, I think part of it is that a lot of people jumped down his throat. Like, I mean, including some pretty high profile people, Lex being one of them, was like, what's that?
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Lex real quick because
Lex is awesome. Lex is a great kid. I love that guy. But he was one of the people, and a lot of people were like, "You're an idiot," or talking about it. So once you get like publicly shamed, I think that has something to do with it. And I think also, what he said in his apology was, I didn't really think about what I was saying, and basically, I think he realized that as the world champion, maybe the commentary is meant to be for someone that's larger than an audience of one. And so even though it's not necessarily his cup of tea, I think he realized that we do a lot of good in the poker world. And we have literally millions of people that tune into EPT Live. And most of it is because it's a fantastic production, but some of that is because they enjoy the commentary. And ultimately, I think that's, I think he realized that it's not really such a bad thing for poker if I'm not completely nailing every single piece of analysis.
No, that makes sense. I think a lot of people, a lot of more, I guess, seasoned pros, they probably, when I've talked to them about the coverage of different tournament series or cash games, I think they say that too. Like they probably want, when they think about it at first, they probably want this like high level discussion. But at the same time, once you have that realization that, the audience is like, 5% me and 95% fun players or recreational players who kind of enjoy the more entertaining aspect of it, then you realize, this is actually probably the best approach to take for it.
Yeah, especially since it's probably more like 99-1 if you're being generous.
You think so? Well, I mean, yeah, never mind. That's true. Because I think 5% of poker players, I think, win in the long run. So it's that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's not all poker players. Like the people that watch live streams are micro stakes players. There are people that are playing on Facebook Play Money. There are people who don't even have poker accounts who just like watching poker. And so if you take into account that we have, like I said, over the course of an EPT live stop, we have millions of hits. I would take the under on 1% of those people being top level players.
I guess that's why I remember one thing that specifically a lot of at the conference in LA, the media guys were talking about how everything they do and all their content is really geared towards those type of players. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, why don't they make stuff for me? But then when you really think about it, if 1% of the audience is like me and then 99% of the audience that's watching content is not me, well, that makes complete sense why everyone markets everything towards this group of people rather than this group of people. It just gets much more exposure and more people into the game in theory with this group of people.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's like if you're a movie director and you go see a movie, like you don't see it with the same set of eyes that a regular person in the theater sees it, or like a movie critic, right? Like Fast and Furious 7 is like a complete joke and is insultingly unrealistic. And I wish they would release one every single week. Like it's amazing. But if you're like a film critic or if you're like a French director and you go see what a piece of shit this movie is, but it's going to make $1 billion because it makes people happy.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way to look at it too. I think from my perspective, obviously being in that 1%, I'm always like, I want things I can enjoy too. But
yeah.
But at the same time,
I mean, and that's why you and your hero buddies can get together and have your podcast and talk about hands and stuff like that. You can have that top level analysis. It's just
we're not talking about hands. We don't talk strategy on here. There's no hand breakdown. There's no range discussion. There ain't none of that shit on here. That's what the training.
Excellent, because I just learned what range means like a week ago, which is crazy.
No, you didn't. You're lying. You didn't learn. No, you didn't. You're lying right now. A couple people in the chat. Zach, what's up? Zach Poppy. Luke Armstrong, what's up? Luke Faden. He says Graphical Nick is a boss and deserves a shout out. Who's Graphical Nick?
So Graphical Nick is this guy who basically does the whole card graphics and does the little crawls on the bottom of the screen, and he occasionally works in little jokes into the broadcast, like when in Deauville the final table went until 5 o'clock in the morning. And so what he does is he puts these long rants, and it'll be like play on PokerStars, but then there's be long rant like we're descending into the 7th circle of hell as we reach the 40th hour of the broadcast. and he's the guy who's sort of responsible for like, you know, if there's a, you know, he puts like a little funny graphic in the corner sometimes, like up here, it'll be like sarcasm alert or just stuff like that, where he's like a character in and of himself that sort of complements the commentary. So yeah, he's awesome. He's a funny dude.
All right, shout out to Graphical Nick then. Keep up the good work. P-Man said, I sent you pictures on Twitter. I'm no liar. Listen, P-Man, we never speculated you were a liar. We didn't
I speculated he was lying. No, I mean, I have no problem admitting that he's probably lying, but let's see what he says.
So he says, check Twitter. So he sent me 2 photos with your girlfriend. One, you're making the weirdest fucking face I've ever seen in my life. Let me actually put this up. Hold on a second here.
You can show me this? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to show you right now. So this is one of the photos he sent me right here. And then this is another one of him and his girlfriend right here.
His girlfriend looks pretty decent, pretty lovely, I would say.
All right, so let's go. He sent me this other picture of his girlfriend too in the bathing suit. Let's go compare and see if it's the same girl.
Possibly.
Okay.
What does he want you to say? Like, what's his goal? Like, you have a hot girlfriend? Like, even a blind girl finds a nut every once in a while. Like,
I don't know. That's a great question. Yeah, I think he just wants to. I don't know. That's a great question, man.
Yes, and you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna award this guy. Yes, sir. You have a hot girlfriend, and we're gonna give you a slow clap. Cool story, bro.
P-Man, thanks for watching, my friend. Is the girlfriend taller than him? P-Man could be, he could be one of those short Englishmen. Is there a lot of other guys in England?
That, by the way, dating someone who's taller. I think it's like a badge of honor. I've been out with a couple girls that are taller than me. I like it. I'm just like, that's right. She's with me. That's right. Yeah, you wouldn't think it, but that's how cool I am that she'll date smaller because I'm fucking awesome.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay, so you're pretty. You're like, what is average height for a guy? I mean, is it 5'10", 5'11"?
I think it's 5'9", but I might just be saying that like a guy who's has a 5-inch penis says average is 4.5. Did you happen to see this thing? I actually did a tweeted something from Tinder this week that did very well. It had like 75 retweets or something, and it was can I share a screen?
You should be able to at the top. You see it? Why the fuck did I do that?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, on the left-hand side, it says
okay. There we go. I click desktop. It's going to show my whole desktop.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see this over here?
Oh, yeah, now I can see it. Yeah.
Let me minimize that. So this is I hope there's nothing embarrassing on my desktop. This is a Tinder conversation I had with a young lady where I open with some funny line. You can see she says, ha, 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 very funny. But then she says, how tall are you? I hate guys as tall as me or even shorter, but if you are, we can still be friends. To which I say, what's your dress size? I hate girls over a certain size, but if you are, we can still be friends. Look, I'm joking, obviously. Like, I'm not serious. I would never actually say that to a human being. So I tweeted that, and I actually thought I was going to get a lot more backlash from my more vehement feminist followers / friends. And actually, the two I was most worried about were like, right on, dude, go for it. But one girl wrote, and she's like, what a mean thing to say. Sounds like something a short guy would say. And I was just like, I just wrote back, obviously I was just trying to prove a point, but also I'm 6'5".
Those feminists, man, they can be, they can take any comment you say and turn it into something, man.
Yeah. Look, it's, I think that I certainly need to change my own way of thinking about a lot of things, but, for the most part, I don't really get into too much trouble with the quote unquote feminists. And I think that I'm just going to go ahead and identify myself as a feminist right now, just so I don't face any backlash from this interview. But no, I think that my ultimate problem is I won't even say it's with feminists, but it is with sensitive people. People are very sensitive, and people on the internet, and people love to be outraged over something. Like, I wake up most mornings, I'm like, what are we going to be outraged about today, internet? I saw a guy. I was outraged that Facebook added the I'm safe option for the people who were just in the earthquake in Kathmandu. And he's like, people are dying. Why do I care if someone? And I was like, there's just always someone is outraged about something. And I've started doing stand-up in London recently. And people are really, really sensitive. Like I had a girl, a young white female American Jewish comic, after a set come up to me and poke me in the chest saying, "You're a racist. You're a racist, and you can't say those jokes that you were saying, and you cannot say that." And right after she walked away from me, one of the black guys in the audience came up to me and said, "Man, you are hilarious, and I run a night up in Birmingham, and you got to come perform up there because you would kill." And I find that white people are crazy sensitive, and they want to be offended on everyone else's behalf. Oh, that's sexist. That's racist. That's ageist. Like, nah, man, like sometimes it's just a joke. And so I do feel like people get that. Do you remember that woman who like the internet blew up when she tweeted? She was like a PR rep, and she was like, "Flying to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, haha, I'm white." Like that is something that's certainly like it is an edgy joke, but I don't know if she deserved to have her life ruined over sort of making a joke about white privilege, about how unfair things are for people in Africa. Like if you think about it, she was actually kind of on their side.
It's really interesting that you put it that way. I guess I don't really pay attention to a lot of like it tends to be like the same people who are always like outraged about something or upset or complaining about stuff. Normally I don't really interact with those people on any social media stuff. So I kind of like tend to stay clear of those type of people in general, those type of discussions for the most part. I don't know. I try not to get involved in. It's
better not to get involved. Yeah, occasionally I just can't resist sometimes. I'm just like, oh no, don't press send on this. It's just you'll never win and you're gonna alienate people, but I don't care. I need to be right.
Yeah. Luke says, ask Joe what it's like commenting with people like Hollywood Haxton on EPTs.
Well, that is something. So you mentioned how you've kind of felt like the commentary recently has been less strategy heavy. And part of that has been that we've had less top level pros sort of in at opportune moments. And I love when Ike Haxton comes in, because then we can have our hour or two of strategy. And I know how to ask the right questions, and I know how to get these guys to say the right things. And I can have a discussion with them. What I can't do is come up with it off the top of my head and just say, like, to me, it's a magic trick. When it's like, oh, I feel like most of the time here, he's going to have like a 7-8 of clubs. And then he turns over 7-8 of clubs. And you're like, how the fuck do you do that? Or when he names like two different suits. Jack. So I love having Ike in, and Ike really brings an air of credibility to the broadcast to satisfy those people. And I think that there's certainly a time and a place for that. I do think 10 hours of that would actually bore the audience, the majority of the audience, not the 5%, let's call them, like you guys. You will eat up every second of it. But I think that I'm incredibly grateful to have Ike when he's in the booth, and I wish he were available to come in once a day and give us, basically what I amount to, like, David Blaine levitating on the sidewalk, that sort of magic trick, because he is awesome. He's fantastic. And he's also good fun. He's like a great sport. He plays along with all the gags. He's like he's all around probably like he's huge value.
I actually don't know who Ike Haxton is. I know Hollywood Haxton. I don't around here. We don't actually know who Ike Haxton is.
Why is he called Hollywood Haxton? Is it an ironic nickname?
Okay, so the nickname started one time we were doing a stream. This is back in like September, and we were watching 25-50, and he bet like 95% of the stack on the river, and then timed all the way down when he got shoved down and folded. And I was like, oh, look at Hollywood Haxton, Hollywood over here before he folds. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, man, I think Hollywood Haxton's a good name for him. He's kind of got like this. He's like not Hollywood, but at the same time, he's got that like Hollywood he's like this Hollywood figure in poker, but he's actually not very Hollywood at all. So then I started calling him Hollywood Haxton, and now it's stuck, and now we always call him Hollywood Haxton. So
Hollywood Haxton is probably good. I gave him the nickname Action Haxton back in the big game days, but it's probably time for an update. I'll see if I can make Hollywood Haxton stick for you on the EPT Live broadcast.
I think that'd be great if you did. I love the nickname. And your impression, I always try to do an Ike impression. And I do my Ike voice and stuff like that. But your voice of Ike is spot on. I got him to study have to study the tapes a little bit more on the Ike voice. Can you do a little bit more of the Ike voice?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
Ike's the best. And also, what's cool about I've been able to like go to dinner with Ike and hang with him a couple times after he's been on the air. And what I do like about Ike is that he is educated in things other than poker and able to talk about things other than poker, which I really appreciate too. He basically can do it all.
He's the
he's Hollywood Haxton. I mean, come on, he's got people.
Exactly. If he's not studying the Dream Machine, he's studying something else. So I mean, he started playing PLO I think about a year and a half ago, a lot online, and now he's pretty much crushing online PLO too. So
is he really? So everyone was like really happy at first, and now the gravy train's over.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that, because I think a lot of people were like, I wouldn't say they're happy. You're never happy when like Hollywood accent comes into your game. But at first they're like, all right, here's my time to beat up on it. He pwned it up at no limit for so long. And now you're like, get this motherfucker ready. I don't want to play with him if he's at the table.
It was a short 18 months.
Yeah, it was a very short 18 months, man, for sure. Kevin said Staples Hollywood impression's better than mine, for sure. No, it definitely is. Mine, I got the shoulder and the glasses down, but the voice is definitely much better. I think I'm going to give a couple shout outs here. Normally about this time, what Adam say? Adam. Where's your comment? I made him so small. Adam Heath said, this is my first time watching on the live stream. Oh, welcome, Adam. Welcome. For you guys that always watch us on replay, I do these live. You can come in, ask questions, comment, show love, show hate, talk about nothing, pretty much anything. Caesar, what's up? Caesar Contreras, puppy, welcome back.
Caesar, love your salad. Huge fan of your salad.
Who's a huge fan of the salad?
I love Caesar's salad.
Oh, you love Caesar's salad?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for that gift.
Marco, what's up, Marco? Puppy, Radu, what's up, Radu? Kevin Clarkson, what's up? Kevin Dedius, Bujokodoski, what up? Andra, Metropolitano, what's up? Christian, man, we got a bunch of goddamn European names today. Slay Show, Arnie, Nigel, Rems, man, all you guys come to every stream. I don't know what the fuck you guys do, but I don't know how you guys are here every stream.
Well, it's nighttime here in Europe, so you're at a good time where people have probably not watching television.
Yeah, but I feel like I normally do these much later in the day, and they're always here too. Like if it's like 3 a.m. European time, they're here every time. I'm not. Maybe they get like
They're ravenous. The people who like poker content will watch and read every single piece of poker content. And when I say ravenous, what I mean to say, you're really great, and I appreciate all of you.
I think hardcore is the word I like to use. The hardcore people that really like it or support it or enjoy it, they show up all the time. They're always giving back a lot of love. Do you have a lot of hardcore people that'll tweet at you on Twitter or comment during the streams now, that names that you start to recognize over and over again that show a lot of love?
Absolutely, yeah. We call them super fans, EPT super fans, and we've got a bunch who I think a lot of people like just hearing their names be read, which you're really good at. You were just reading off a bunch of names, giving the people what they want. I think there are a few people out there that ask really obvious questions just so they can get their name read, and they want to hear that. Hey, but look, I remember that. I remember that from back in the day, back when I used to listen to the radio and wanted to just call in with some kind of stupid question for whoever was on there just to hear my name said. I get it. It's fun.
Is in Monaco right now, right?
Yes, I'm in Monte Carlo, Monaco, one of the most expensive places on the planet.
So expensive in terms of everything's expensive, the hotel, the salad, the drinks.
Everything is expensive here. If you guys follow my Twitter for the last few years, I always do these Monaco is so expensive jokes. Like last night, for example, I asked a girl for her number and she gave it to me. It was 5,000. Last year, actually, I was walking through the hotel lobby. I made eye contact with a girl, and then she charged me 200 euros. So things are expensive here, Like last year, I actually saw a guy paying for a parking ticket with a Picasso. And then a woman was picking up dog poop with last year's Chanel bag. That sort of thing. That's Monaco for you. Legitimately, I got to when I got here the first night, I had a burger and fries in the hotel restaurant, and burger and fries was 44 euros.
Jesus Christ.
So that's like $65 for a burger and fries. There's no Coke included in that. There's no Coca-Cola. That's just for the burger and fries. That's with a tap water. So it is a very expensive place.
Gosh. How is dating there? Have you tried actually meeting any women, taking any like as an avid dater?
Dating in Monaco is like is a no-win scenario as far as I'm concerned. You know, I do like typically will hop on Tinder wherever I'm at. There's certain places that are really good for it. Barcelona, Malta being good for it. Actually, I had some luck in the Bahamas too, but Monaco, it's not really like the destination for single women, you know? Monaco is actually a place where I can play my favorite game. It's called wife-daughter hooker. And what you do is you find a guy, like an old man, who's with a hot young girl, and you go, wife, daughter, or hooker. You know, mistress I consider to be in the same category as hooker. So yeah, there's not like a lot of like unattached females here. They're usually like the wife / daughter / hooker of like an oligarch or like an oil baron or a railroad tycoon. There's not like a ton of like just single girls hanging out who aren't working.
I guess you could go on the DGG daughter girl grind, I suppose. And that game kind of is an extension.
You cut out for a second. It's an extension of what?
Well, I was going to say that normally I play hooker or not a hooker in Vegas, but wife daughter hooker is an extension of the game. It's a new way to add a twist to it.
Aya, do you have any good Vegas hooker stories?
Do I have any good Vegas hooker stories?
Yeah.
What would be defined as a good Vegas hooker story?
Well, like I have a Vegas hooker story where like, because you know in Vegas, like the first couple times you go to Vegas and you get approached by these hookers, you don't really know they're hookers, or like you really hope that they're not.
Right.
So, you know, when you're walking back to your hotel room at Bellagio at like 4 a.m. and they're like, hey, want to hang out? And you're like, oh, I know this is a hooker, but yes, I do. So one time I was in Vegas for a bachelor party. And all the guys I was with are like, I don't have a problem approaching girls. And I will say I do it less now because of all of sort of the social media culture and or climate out there where anytime someone is approaching a girl in public, it's harassment, apparently. So I don't really, I'm like really sensitive to that now. I don't approach people in public so much anymore. But we were in Vegas and my friends were all a bunch of pussies, to be honest, and weren't talking to any girls, even though they really wanted some girls around. So these 2 girls were walking by and I was like, them right there, they're looking for attention. I'll be right back. So I walk up to them like, hey, girls, I'm here with a bachelor party, and I just wondering if you guys wanted to come hang for a second. We'll have some drinks, hang out. And they were like, yeah, sure, sounds good. But my friend here, she's not 21, so like we can't go to the bar with you. Can you just get us drinks and we'll meet you back at these slot machines? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And maybe I shouldn't be admitting to this on the air, but I also think that alcohol laws in America are absolutely ridiculous, that you can own a machine gun when you're 18, but you need to be 21 to have a drink. It's just fucking absolute crazy town. So I go up to the bar and I buy us all. One of them, I'm sorry, and the other one's like, look, and I'm straight edge. I don't drink or anything, but I would love a bottle of water. And I was like, okay, fine. So I go and get myself a drink, another drink, and a bottle of water. I come back and I sit down at a slot machine. And I got one girl on my left and one girl on my right, and the girl on my left is Lucy, and the girl on my right is Rachel. And so we're talking. I'm like, so what do you guys think you want to do later? Da, da, da. And so the straight edge one says to me, well, I'm bisexual and I really want to fuck my friend, but she's like not that into it. And I'm like, mm-hmm. Now I'm not one of these guys that'll like fall all over myself at this story and immediately be like, yeah, kiss right now. I'm just like playing it cool, but I'm in my head being like, there's 2 sides. There's the angel and the devil. There's one that's like, the devil's like, all right, just play it cool, keep it together. And the angel is like, this seems a little too good to be true, but play it out. And so she's like, I don't know, like I think maybe we should all just go back to my room and then like we can like just see if we can get. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. The friend's like, I don't know, maybe. And then this dude comes up and stands right behind us, like he's obviously like encroaching on our space. And I'm just like, hey man, excuse me, but I'm trying to talk to my friends here. I don't know what, but if you could, I don't know why you're. And he goes, remember I said their names were like Lucy and Rachel, and he's like, Svetlana, Vanessa. I told you before, you're not allowed in here. That's it. You're getting arrested. You are getting arrested, and don't run, because if you run, I will tackle you to the ground. And he takes out a badge, and he was like an undercover cop or something. And these two girls, turns out, were like hookers, obviously, who were like, now the thing that bothers me about this is I don't have a problem with the hooking industry in general, but be honest about it. So these girls were not being honest, which means like there's only a few ways that could have played out. One is that like they finally confess at some point. Two is we go back to the room and we do a bunch of stuff and then they try to charge me afterward. Three is they just straight up rob me. You know what I mean? Like they just straight up like we go to my room, they take everything I have. Here's the weird part. So the two of them do get arrested. You know what's weird? I felt really bad. I felt terrible. Like I kind of like wanted to like go bail the girl out. I wouldn't, but I thought about it for like a split second. And so I just look at the guy and I'm like, am I in trouble? Like, no. And I was like, see ya, smell you later. I was like, bye. But yeah, I felt bad for running out in the situation. But yeah, that's one of my Vegas hooker stories. One of them.
What were your friends at this time? Were they in the conversation? Were they talking to other people?
No, they were like, so you know how Bellagio is like that main runway, right? They were like on the other side of the runway, all crowded around like a pie gow table or something, watching what was happening.
Yeah. We might have to put in some sessions out there at some point in time, man, because it sounds like we'd have some interesting stories together.
I'm good in the room. I'm really good in the room. I'm not like the most not like the biggest head turner as far as looks go, but I can hold my own conversation wise. So it's just it's tough though, which is why I mostly resort to online dating, and I say resort as if it's something that's that bad, but I don't think it really is anymore. And what I like about online dating is that you cut through those first couple layers of bullshit where the girl, when you talk to a girl in a bar, you don't know if you're bothering her. You don't know if her fiance is coming to pick her up. You don't know anything about it. So at least when you meet someone online, you cut through those first couple levels and you can say, okay, we're both two people that at least want to meet someone. So I do a lot of that.
Yeah, I think online dating I haven't online dated in quite a long time. Although I did like a fun challenge back in the day where I tried to do 30 dates in 30 days, which was that one pretty fun. But I think online dating is just a really great resource to use for, I mean, even people that are good at meeting people in person. It's just because, as you said, you kind of just, you figure out if you like the person or not. You figure out the hobbies, you figure out what they like, what they don't like, what kind of person they are. And if you want to, go forward with that, then you can go forward with that. And when you meet someone in real life, I mean, it's not like you waste your time, but in a way you kind of do sometimes waste time.
No, well, you don't have to say it's wasting time in real life, but you're saving time online.
Yeah, definitely saving time online. Do you have like some tips out there for people who are aspiring online daters who might not be having some success in terms of getting a woman from point A to point B and actually being in a real life date with her?
I don't know, because every situation, it's situational. It's very much like poker. It's situational. I used to give online dating advice when I used to do my other podcast. You said you used to listen to Two Jacks in the Hole. We changed the name eventually to Huff and Stapes, and we used to do this segment called Computer Love. Just some general tips would be similar to the tips I would give in poker, actually, which is just to know that like you can't win every hand. And sometimes you're going to be talking to someone that's just not down to meet up. That's either just wants attention or doesn't really like you that much, but doesn't know how to tell you, and it just answers your messages and then falls off the face of the planet once you ask them to hang out. I don't think there's anything wrong in asking someone to hang out relatively soon, because let's say that they're feeling it, then they say yes. Let's say that they're not sure, they'll just say, hey, I'm not really sure, let's just talk some more first. I don't think you really can scare, other than in your first message, if you're like, hey, let's get a drink. Sometimes that can turn someone off where you maybe would have had a chance otherwise. But also you got to read the situation. You got to read your opponent. You got to, know whether or not she seems like the type that does spontaneous stuff, or whether, they need to be finessed a little bit. And I will also say that it kind of helps, unless you're really good at being a player, if you're genuine. I think being genuine actually helps. So Unless the genuine you is just terrible and is not good with women, then don't be genuine. But yeah, I don't know. It's situational, I guess. What do you have some go-to advice for folks?
In terms of online dating, I mean, I haven't online dated in so long. I mean, I think back in the day it was just figure out.
You're not on Tinder? You don't do the Tinder?
No, well, since Tinder's been around, I was with a girl for about a year and a half, and since I've been single, I mean, I don't know. It's really easy to meet girls in real life. So it just, especially if you just like talk to them, like you're like, hey, what's up? Like, I mean, and that's I think probably.
Where are you doing this? You're doing this in bars? You're doing this when you go to Einstein Brothers Bagels in the morning?
I pretty much talk to people everywhere. So when I go to the gym, when I go to yoga, if I go to eat anywhere, if I go like friends of friends, it's just, I mean, even like sometimes on Facebook, I always interact with people on Facebook. So like some people I haven't seen in a long time on Facebook, we'll start chatting, and then, that'll turn into something else, and then we'll hang out, and then, things go from there. And obviously now, I don't know if you get this, but the podcast, sometimes there's some girls out there, shout out to those girls who are on Twitter or on Facebook. Sometimes they hit you up. They're like, hey, what's up? They're trying. Do you ever get girls like that who get in touch with you through Twitter?
I have, actually, and I sort of am torn on the subject, because obviously, why would I turn down an interesting person who's also attractive that might want to hang out with me socially? But I've come to realize that, like, I'm kind of a dog, right? Like, I'm kind of for the last few years, look, I don't believe in lying to people. I don't believe in deceiving people. But I am the kind of person that's pretty tough to tie down and pretty tough to get into a relationship. And if you are going to hook up with me right away, I'm probably going to get bored with you really quickly. And so what I realize is that for the most part, I would rather keep that person as a fan than hook up with them one time and possibly alienate someone, because my reputation means a lot to me. And so I would rather not have someone out there in the world saying, man, Joe Stapleton is a dick, man. He just uses people, and we hooked up one time and then I never heard from him again. And I would just rather have them have that image of me of being like a nice, decent person rather than someone who fucked them over. So I kind of, at this point, have a rule where I don't mess around with fans because I would rather just be a decent person. And there's plenty of other people I can just mess around with.
How often have you broke the rule? I know you've broken the rule before.
I've broken it. I've broken it twice. Well, I've broken it, I think, twice. And one of the times the girl was totally just down. She was like, look, I don't want to put her on blast. She's like, look, I'm from such and such European country. Sex is not a big deal where I come from. Let's just hang out. It's not like, it's really not nothing. And we did hook up and we did mess around, and we're still friends now, and it's fine. So yeah, so of the times I've broken it, one time it was because someone was just like, I'm a grown up. I can choose to do this if I want to, and don't worry about it. Now, I do find a lot of times when people say that stuff, they don't always really mean it. But in this case, she did, and everything was totally cool.
Yeah, I think it's like a very rare woman, or even honestly, even a guy you can meet who, when they say that, they actually mean it. Because like, all right, no, we'll just hook up. It'll be just that. And then when it actually happens, and then someone catches these strong feelings or sending these messages, and you're just like, what the? Like, hey, I thought we were clear about this previous to this. Like, this is what it is, and then, yeah,
but and that's the other thing too, is that it's always someone, right? Like, because sometimes I've been the one too, where a girl says to me, look, it's just going to be this. It's just going to be us hanging out and hooking up and having fun. And I go, okay, and then I'm like, shit, now I'm the one. Well, no, this is not how it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be her. So yes, it's a high potential for there to be issues. So I tend not to do that anymore.
A lot of people keep asking, how old are you? You're not 43. Andreas, what the fuck are you doing at 43?
No. Okay, so I don't really know what to do about this question, because Andreas is not. So on the webcast, James constantly refers to me as being 43 years old. And it's just a gag that I don't ever correct him. I don't ever correct him, and I'll just, You know, it's kind of peeling back. It's just a gag that we do on the show. Look, I'll tell you, I'm not 43 years old. I'm 33 years old. But on the webcast, James always refers to me being 43, and I just play along. And the funny part is people rarely call it into question. And all the time we've been doing this, someone's only tweeted in like, Stapes is 43 one time. And then his follow-up sentence was, I thought he was older. So no, I'm 33 years old. I'm getting old though. I'm starting to. How old are you? What are you, like 25?
29.
29. Okay. So I don't know if you're anything like me, but like, so in my 20s, I was just not that I don't like it anymore, but I was obsessed with sex, and I would pretty much have it at any point with anyone who was willing. And if I didn't have it, it was a failure, and I felt bad about myself, and I was like, I'm such a loser. And now I don't want to leave my house for anything below like top 98%, top 2% sex. Like, it's just not worth it. Porn is so good. Like, here's sex, here's porn, right? Like, porn to me at this point is just like, it's like Blade, right? Remember Blade, who has like all of the strengths of the vampire and none of the weaknesses? That's like porn. Porn's got like almost all of the benefits of sex and none of the weaknesses. There's no dealing with someone. You don't get a hair in your mouth. You don't have to get someone a glass of water afterward. You don't have to explain to them 2 weeks later that I'm not really looking for a relationship right now. You don't have to, when they call you and say that they're late on their period, you don't have to say, well, that's crazy because I was just about to move out of the country. You don't have to do any of that stuff.
That's a great way. I mean, I can't even argue with that. I wouldn't say I've ever been like, when even I was younger, I was maybe like really obsessed with just meeting a lot of women, and I didn't really want to date anyone until I was
You're like a really good looking guy, and you probably have never really been that hard up for sex in your life. So that's probably what it is. You probably had sex a lot in high school. You probably had sex a lot in college if you went to college. Like you didn't go to college.
No, I didn't go to college. And also when I was in high school, I didn't have sex till I was out of high school. I didn't have sex till I was 17 and I graduated already. I was like, when I was in high school, I was like real skinny. I'm tall, but I was a real tall, skinny kid who was kind of like the funny guy of the school. I wasn't necessarily like this ladies' man or was into working out or anything like that. Yeah. But once I started having sex, I went crazy with it because it was just like, this is amazing and girls like me. This is awesome. So.
Well, I don't know what happened to me, but I just started like overthinking sex. Like, so now when I'm doing it, all I can think about like is how awkward it is how awkward everything is, how weird. Like, I'm very aware of like my breathing, or like if my nose is whistling, I'm like, oh, like, have you ever had like a boog in your nose? So when you whistle, like when you breathe, or if there's like here's something, right? So like I don't make playlists. So I just fire up my iTunes and I just put on my whole like 5,000 song playlist. So sometimes when I'm with a girl, like a really awkward song will come on in the middle of it, like Baha Man's Who Let the Dogs Out, or like the themes. Yeah, exactly. Or the theme song from Friends. One time I was actually, this is in my stand-up act, but I was actually taking a girl into my bedroom. And as this happened, the Imperial March from Star Wars came on. Da, 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 da. And I was like, please don't notice this. Please don't notice. Please don't notice. And finally she goes, what the fuck is this? And so the only thing I could think to say was, despite what it looks like, this Death Star is fully operational. So now like all I can do is like, these are the droids you're looking for. So like I just think about sex way too much while I'm having it now. Like, condoms throw me off, and like, what do I do now? Like, it's just, I'm so self-aware. Like, I want to be able to just have a conversation with someone and just straight up go, look, how far do you want things to go tonight? Because I really don't care how far they go, and I don't want to look like an asshole, but if you're willing to let things go all the way, that's cool with me too. So what's up? What's your deal? And then the other thing that I want to do too is I just want to, at some point when I'm having sex, go, look, are you going to have an orgasm or not? Because if not, it's totally fine with me. I'm just going to stop embarrassing myself. Like, we can cut this short. I don't need to like completely, drip sweat all over you for the next 40 minutes. We can just call it a night. It's no big deal. So I just wish I could like, these are the things I'm thinking about. It sort of takes the enjoyment out of it for me, which is probably what comes from not caring at all about the person I'm having sex with.
I was gonna say one that probably a lot of those things happen. I feel like with women first or second time you hook it up with them, and second, have you ever just tried saying these things? I've said these things before.
I do say,
I just ask the question. I'm just like, this is what I want to know. Like, and then you actually get some honest responses. I mean, normally I might look at you like, this motherfucker's okay, but at that point, whatever. Like, if you want to go take off.
It's like most other things. You just have to ask with confidence. Like if you're confident in yourself and you say the question that I just asked, and sometimes girls will answer you with like, yes, but it takes a while. And what they really mean is yes, but it takes AA batteries. You can just give up at that point too.
I think one of the go-to questions, man, I'm sure now we're going to talk some strategy here. But one of the questions normally, like when sometimes you get in that sexual conversation you have with a woman, whether you meet her online through text or in real life or something like that. And one of the questions like you always somehow work in is like the idea of orgasms, and do you get off from oral, do you get off from actual sex? And then that kind of like lets you know, because usually women will be honest, like, oh, sometimes I only get off from this position right here. Whether it's like you got it, whatever. We're not getting
a very specific thing. No, sometimes it's like unlocking a safe. Like I have to be bent over at this angle with your hand here, and you whispering this in my ear, and it has to be like Depeche Mode on your playing. Like yes, there's some very specific combinations of things that have to happen sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of girls who are harder will tell you like, oh, it's like this. But then there's this is what I call a jackpot, when they're like, oh, it's easy. I'm like, thank God, man. The 5 minute, it's like, you got to.
That is a jackpot. That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that was I had a recent experience. It was just amazing. It was great. I was like, oh, this is great. I wish every girl was like this, man. But unfortunately, and then some just can't. Some can't. Some say they can't, but maybe you're just not good enough. And then you're thinking like, oh, is it me? Like, and then from there, we get back on the whole idea of thinking too much about sex. So
yeah, exactly. You just get inside your own head, which is tough. And that's you haven't experienced this yet, buddy, but I'm going to tell you this. At 13 years old, I had to hide the fact that I always had an erection. At 33 years old, I have to hide the fact that sometimes I can't get one.
Have you tried any of the pills? You see all those commercials for all that stuff. Those don't work?
Oh my God, the pills are so good. And honestly, you don't even need the pharmaceutical stuff. The stuff in America in the gas station, they're like $10 a pill. You will have a boner for 5 days. They're outrageous. They're crazy. Me and my buddies have this thing that we do whenever I go to California. My friends my friends live in Hermosa Beach in a house. It's like a 5-minute walk from the beach, and they always throw a big house party. And what we do the morning of, when we go out and buy the keg, we'll all buy these like $10 gas station boner pills and just take them. Even though none of us have any prospects whatsoever, and it's like a race to beat the clock. Like, can you find someone before you completely lose your mind with a giant erection for 14 hours?
I mean, I'm in for that game. Sounds fun, actually. I'd like to play that game one time in my life. That actually sounds.
It's slightly homoerotic, but when you're close with your guy friends, that kind of thing, that flies. No big deal.
One question related to porn that I talked about on a couple of streams. I was giving this tip is I asked women what kind of porn they like to watch. And I always say it in like a joking way. I'm like, so what kind of porn are you into? You into the 6 black dudes and the 1 girl? Are you into the guy with the husband he's videotaping with the camera and there's some black dudes fucking his wife? Are you into like the 25 dudes and the one what kind of stuff do you like? And then I think the answer the girl gives you kind of tells you a little bit about what type of person she is.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it helps with compatibility. And for me, really all I need is an openness. As long as the person doesn't say ew, gross, I would never watch that, or I would never do that. Then it's pretty much fine with me. But yeah, it's good. It's a good barometer to see if you're gonna get along with that person, probably, or also what sorts of other subjects not to bring up if that one gets met with some hostility.
I've never had that met with hostility. Even if they say like, that's a weird question, I'm like, why is that? I'm like, why is that a weird question? Like, everyone likes porn. Everyone loves porn. Everyone watches porn. If you don't watch porn, that might be a little bit weird. And then they loosen up from there. And when they don't loosen up, it's kind of a fun challenge to get them to loosen up or lighten up a bit.
I actually have some guilt now. I don't try to get people to loosen up anymore unless I'm actually legitimately interested in dating them. It's not my thing anymore. Like it, and if I'm going to be honest, I've been a single man for a really long time, and I never thought that I thought that I would want to live like this forever. Recently, I have been like open to the idea of like actually being with someone, because I met someone very recently who made me realize like, wow, this actually could be really cool to have like someone that you are incredibly attracted to, but also like hanging out with like a buddy. And I guess I've just never really had that before. What I've really never had is a girlfriend who wasn't like a complete dead weight around my neck. Like the reason I avoid relationships is because you double your problems, right? Like the second you're in a relationship, all her problems become your problems.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're a student, if they have money problems, if they have legal problems, if they got a crazy ex-boyfriend, if they have daddy issues or whatever it is, and I don't mean to just say daddy issues, family issues, whatever, all those problems become your problems. And I've never really had anyone who could like add anything to my life rather than take away from it. And lately I've like I said, I met someone that showed me like, oh, wow, this is someone that can actually be a partner to me, be someone that actually could lift me up as opposed to just dragging me down. And so once I realized that was a possibility, now I'm actually more open to the idea of actually having a committed relationship with someone, but they still have to want to watch porn.
Definitely sounds like probably a problem with your demographics of the type of women you're meeting. So I think I used to find that too, where I felt that way. But then I started meeting women a little bit different quality, a little bit different lifestyle, and I found that. I mean, that's a great way. The way you put it is exactly how I felt. The type of women I was meeting for a while, but that was just a function of the type of women I was meeting. I was just meeting these women who live that way, and there are these other women out there, but you sometimes have to try to find them. They're not just a majority of the women are going to be the ones that you sometimes feel like might be not adding any value to your life. But even with older women, I feel like if you dated older women, you would have found women who you felt like added something.
For sure. And look, when I dated Christy, she definitely added a lot to my life, and she wasn't a total dead weight around her neck. But she obviously it was hard dating a poker player. It was hard. Look, I was the girl on the rail. I was like the girl sweating her boyfriend at the World Series for 56 days. And every single day it was, okay, like I just hope she makes it to day 2 today, because I just don't want to have to deal with like the aftermath of her like busting of another tournament. And, that was a difficult thing for me to have to deal with. Basically, look, when you play the World Series, you bust like almost every single day if you play every event. So, that made things difficult. That was stressful in a way. That's again, her problems became my problems. So it wasn't one person busting from a tournament; it was really 2.
I got to remember that thing. Her problems becoming my problems. I've never thought of it from that perspective either, but that's so fucking true. I mean, that's so true. I guess ideally you'd want to find somebody who, I don't even know then. I just got to think about that a lot more. Daniel said, ask him if Liv Borey broke his heart. And then someone, Slay Show says, has Stapes ever hooked up with any girl poker players? I don't know if those two are correlated or not.
They're not correlated because I never hooked up with Liv. I've never hooked up with a guy named Lee either. I've never hooked up with Liv, but I did have a major crush on Liv when she was first on the scene around 2008. And I was probably, trying to hang around her a little too much, but we have become really good friends in the meantime. I've slept on Liv's couch before. Liv and I have been ridiculously drunk multiple times together. Nothing's ever happened. Nothing ever will. Igor, her current boyfriend, loved the guy. I think he's great. When she was dating Kevin, I got along with him. When she was dating Allie Prescott years ago, I got along with him. Not that big of a deal. Liv's just a really good friend. I obviously dated Christy for a little while. I've had, there's not a lot of girls in the poker world, but I will say that I've been lucky and that the ones that are around, I have gotten a decent amount of attention from, but unfortunately not enough time has passed. And I can't really talk about any of it at the moment because I do respect people. I think that life's really hard for girls, to be honest. I think that, they're treated differently. They're considered the prey while we're considered the predator. And I think that, a guy who walks into a room and says, I had a 4-way with 3 girls last night. Everyone high fives him. A girl walks in and says, I had a 4-way with 3 guys last night. Everyone goes, ew, gross. I think that things aren't really that fair for girls. So I'm not like a big kiss and teller because I don't want to hurt people's reputations. Because honestly, if you hook up with me, you probably don't have a lot going for you.
It's like a self shots right there. Self shots at yourself right there.
That's all I got. That used to be my whole thing, this whole self-deprecation thing. That was the whole routine for a while.
Yeah. Professional says Vanessa Selps ?
I've never hooked up with Vanessa Selps, but I would. I've certainly asked. Yeah, I think she's incredibly sexy. I think that she is. I think that she's so attractive, and she's a boss, and she's one of the best poker players in the world. And I would totally do it.
I 100% agree with you. I would definitely, for sure. She's at the top of my poker female crush list.
Really? Yeah. See. For
sure. I don't even care. She says she only dates girls. She's married to a woman. Her wife, she's a great woman too. I had a chance to meet her. But at the same time, sometime down the road, you never know. Aiden says it's such a gay podcast. Bravo, guys. Shout out to Aiden. Thank you very much. Slay Show keeps talking about double girl grind. What does that mean, buddy? Is Joe into the double girl grind? Is that 2 girls at one time? I think he's asking if you're into 2 girls at one time.
I've been very lucky in my life, is all I'll say.
Man, I mean, gosh.
The weird thing is, like, if I before I had like a real career, I used to talk about all this stuff. So if you went back and listened to like Huff and Stapes or 2 Jacks in the Hole, you'll probably hear stories about this. The problem now is, like, I never know what I say now is gonna like make someone's blog that's gonna like end up on F5 or like 2+2, and so I just can't be as open about this stuff anymore. And also, nobody likes a bragger. Everyone hates a fucking bragger. So I did a lot better when I was just like the self-deprecating guy. Look, if anyone asks, I'm a virgin, okay? I'm a virgin as far as anyone knows. I'm not like a big bragger, but I have been lucky in my life.
We can take that. We can read between the lines on that one here. Marcus Legit, he said I didn't give him a shout out. What's up, Marcus? Puppy. We got a lot at the same time, but I think people were excited to see you. Watch it live, and I'm sure this one back on replay is going to get a lot of views as well. Let me look at some other people in here in the chat. No, I've seen some pretty good questions along the way. What is Stapes' view towards squirters? I don't know.
I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic.
We got love for squirters, man, for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's great. It's like it is a physical. It's just absolute. Basically, let's say the ego is a plant. Squirting waters it. Squirting just completely.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. That makes
total ego food for sure.
That's true. Kevin Clarkson always giving a lot of comments. What's up, Kevin? I'll give you another shout out too. Poppy Versace GTO plays. What's up, boys? Man, let me see here.
You got the shout out game down hard. You're really good at shout outs.
At shout outs?
Yeah, you're like a shout out.
I gotta show them some love, man. These guys come here all the time, man. But new names, we got love for new people too, because new people turn into long-term people. I feel like some of these guys have come to like 90% of the streams, so we gotta show them some love.
Well, I'm happy all you guys are here too. Thanks, kids.
Where can you start doing? You guys doing another podcast for EPT Not Live? Is that what it's called?
Yes. Yeah, we do a podcast called EPT Not Live, which is a mostly uncensored behind the scenes of PokerStars TV shows and the EPT live broadcasts that we do. It's still run by PokerStars, so there's some things that get cut out or that I can't say. Much of what I've spoken about on this podcast probably would not have made that edit, but it's still a very good show, very entertaining. We do some fun stuff on there. It's the most unleashed PokerStars has ever let me be, which I assume is only because their top executives haven't listened to it yet, because there's some pretty racy stuff on there. But it's fun. It's basically, look, on the TV shows, I have to be very corporate. On the EPT live streams, I have to be pretty corporate. And on the podcasts, I'm minimally corporate. So, it's a nice companion piece. If you already watch or listen to the rest of the stuff, we tell some fun stories of stuff that you may or may not pick up on just from watching the broadcasts that we do.
Who are you, the co-host, the guys that you also do?
Hardigan, yeah. Me and Hardigan.
Who else do you do announcing with normally for EPT Live besides James?
It's me and James typically, and then they have a guy named Matt Broughton who is another English fella who is a very, very funny guy, hysterical as far as I'm concerned, and Mark Convey also is part of the EPT live team. Those two guys, me and James are doing 9 days of live commentary from here in Monaco starting on Tuesday, and it'll be me, James, Matt, and Mark. And I think James is actually not on the first few days because he's like kind of a producer on Shark Cage, and we're shooting the last couple heats of Shark Cage and the final for this season of Shark Cage while we're here. So the first few days is going to be me and Matt and Mark mostly on the air. So yeah, it's the four of us on EPT Live.
Well, I got to give James a shout out. I know he's shown me some love on some of the streams when I've commented and said some things. So I definitely got to give him a shout out. Yeah,
James is great. James, I'm really lucky to have James because there's James, and James is so corporate that I get to do what I like to do. So what I like to say is that James steers the ship. I get to fire the guns. Sometimes I'm firing the guns directly into the deck of our own boat. And James is the guy who is desperately trying to keep it afloat. And if it weren't for him, we would have sunk a long time ago. So he is awesome.
He's pouring the water out as you're trying to sink the fucking thing. He's like, please shut the fuck up right now.
Just stop talking, please, so we keep our jobs. Yes.
He's like, well, he might not get fired, but maybe, yeah. I think his job seems pretty safe and secure.
Yeah, well, he's a staff member at PokerStars now, and the way it works in the UK, like once you're on staff somewhere, it's really hard to get fired. It's very difficult to get fired. Me, on the other hand, I'm a freelancer, and they could just go, hey, by the way, we're not using you next season. Okay, bye.
GG, huh? Easy game.
Yeah, it could happen just that easily.
The Shark Cage, yeah. I think my friend Karen Brutieg is playing on.
Karen Brutieg, yeah.
Brutieg, yeah. Have you met her before?
I have not met her, but she's made a couple of appearances on our TV shows. She tweeted at me recently because we did like a little feature on her, and it turns out her dog's name is Fanny. And in in the UK, Fanny means pussy, means vagina. And so I made a joke about that. And then, but even more famously, this is before anyone knew who she was, but on our Barcelona shows a few years ago, we have the shot of Daniel, and she walks by in the background, and Daniel's like cranes his neck pretty much all the way around, and that was her when she walked by. So she's been on the show a few times, but yeah, she's playing in Shark Cage in the next couple days.
Mm-hmm. She's been. I know her brother. I used to play 10 cent and 25 cent with her brother when I first started a long time ago, and I met her before, and she's got these aspirations to become a professional poker player, and she seems like she's gradually, kind of working hard, doing better, and now she's gonna be on Shark Cage. So I'm gonna be excited to watch that episode.
Yeah, well, what do you think of Shark Cage? Because it really upset a lot of hardcore poker fans at first. If you haven't seen it, that's fine, but
I've seen a couple episodes just because I usually watch every show at first just to see what I think about it.
That's good. I mean, look, if you're going to be in the poker media or be a guy in the scene, you really need to be educated on what else is out there, because there are a lot of people that make comments or will write a blog and talk about how good or bad the state of things are in, but don't watch everything. So, you kind of need to at least try everything before you can make a comment, I think.
Yeah. I'm not the type of person that does that. I'm not going to be like, oh, this show sucks if I never watched it. Yeah. But also at the same time, that you mentioned a good point, which is that a lot of people say, oh, it's in a bad state or it's dying, but they're not supporting it themselves, or they're not doing anything to really contribute, or they're really not doing anything to show love to people that are actually doing something.
The stuff that's right.
People that are saying those things.
So, but you did kind of make a little wincy face when I asked you what you thought of it.
Oh no, I was thinking about Miss Finland when you said that. Actually, I was because I remember I messaged her on Twitter. Someone's like, "Get her on a podcast." So I sent her a message. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be in Malta for 2 more days." I was like, "I'm not in Malta. We can do it online though." And then she never got back to me. So when you said that, I was like, I almost had Miss Finland on a podcast. I mean, think about Miss Finland on a podcast.
She is actually really cool. I've had the chance to spend a little bit of time around her. Now, the one thing that'll be disappointing to everyone is that her boyfriend is her manager and basically follows her around everywhere she goes. However, the first time I met him is when I do these things called challenge Stapes from the EPT stops, where I have to do something dumb, and I had to dress up like Santa Claus and have people sit on my lap, and they convinced her to come be a part of it. And so when she came to do it, we'd actually already wrapped on the shoot, but I got dressed back up in all the gear because we're we got Miss Finland, we got to do a reshoot. So she comes by and I was like, oh, hey, are you, I think his name is Dan. I was like, hey, are you her boyfriend? And he's like, yeah, don't worry. You can do whatever you want. Like, he was super cool. He was like, don't worry about upsetting me. Like, make whatever jokes you want. It's fine. And then she came on EPT Live when we were in, was it in Malta? I don't remember. One of the stops recently. And she's really weird, but weird and like, you know, like, and like when a hot girl's weird, you're like, oh, this is really cool. She makes like little clicks and noises all the time. She's always like, meep, 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 like, and just does kind of weird, quirky stuff, which obviously when it's an attractive person, you're like, that's really cool.
I know. It's ugly. You're like, what the fuck is this person doing? When it's a hot girl, like,
don't bring her back in here. But yeah, when it's like Miss Finley, you're like, no, she's all right. She's all right.
Yeah, I think I like the Shark Cage is like, you know, I've been a little bit out on tournament poker in general. One, I don't play tournaments ever, and two, it seems like it's sort of the same thing. I do like the twist on there too. And there's also I love the big game. That was one of my favorite shows. I mean, that was like, man, I wish they did more of that because that was so fucking good. That was like, you know, the dynamic was just interesting. They had a lot of online guys on there. I mean, they had like boys like my boy Diansky, Donnie Stern on there. I mean, you never get to see these guys really on these television shows. You had Lex on there a bunch. And I mean, the amateur, it was just such an interesting concept. And then the Shark Cage, you know, tournament wise, it's just so fast to me, and it's a lot of all-ins. But I do like the idea of putting someone in a cage. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, the dynamic of the cage is good, and what I really like about it, you totally have a point, by the way. You know, it's a sit and go, and there's only so interesting. You can only make a sit and go so interesting. But the cage thing is really fun, and what I really like is the conversations that develop between the players because, you know, we pick the lineups. When you're doing tournament poker, you have no control over who's sitting at your table. You can look for a good table and say, okay, these guys are good. Let's make this the feature table. But you can't say, like when you're doing a specific for TV format, we go, okay, well, this is going to be really good because we're going to have Miss Finland, and we're going to have Ronnie Barter because he's like a huge talker, and we're going to have this celebrity, and you can sort of customize the table so that you get good conversations. And that's my favorite part about Shark Cage is that I do hardly any talking because the people who are on the show are doing it for me. And they're really interesting to watch. And I honestly think the big game is the best poker show that ever was. I think that it would have been successful with or without me because it was just such a great format. And I would absolutely leap at the opportunity to do the big game again because I just think it was absolutely brilliant. It had all the pieces. I think that cash game poker is, for me, the most interesting kind of poker to watch. I think having a real dollar amount associated with every pot, even if it's smaller stakes, honestly, I don't really care. I was watching Poker Night in America last night, the 25-50 game. I find cash game poker to be really interesting to watch because there's just so much more action. And it's not, you don't find as many standard spots as you find in tournaments. People are more lively at the table. They're talking more. And the whole loose cannon game within the game dynamic was just was awesome. The pre-flop pot limit, post-flop no limit. I think that all of it just works so well together, and I miss the show a lot. Yeah.
I got to give a quick shout out to my little brother, Tutu Andrew Cool, aka Yardstick, aka Stallion, aka Big Dog. He's in the chat. He says, "Mom says hi too. What's up, little bro? I hope you enjoyed. We took him to Coachella a couple weekends ago. He got a nice little taste of California music festival life, and now he's back in high school. So Tutu Andrew Yardstick Stallion Cool. No, that's not your nickname, bro. Your nickname's Tutu Andrew Cool, aka Big Dog, aka Little Bro, aka Yardstick, aka Stallion. That's your nickname.
Oh, the whole thing is the nickname.
The whole thing. He's got 5 nicknames now. He got 2 new nicknames from a girl out at Coachella. She started calling him Yardstick and Stallion. So,
is it because he has a 3-foot dick?
Listen, I haven't seen it. I have no respect.
You've seen your little brother's dick at some point in your life. Maybe it wasn't 3 feet at the time, but did you have any indication that it was going to end up being a yardstick?
You know what? He always talks about being the big dog, but I didn't know it was quite the yardstick. That was a little bit. I was like,
well, people who talk about it a lot, I'm not so sure.
And I'm still not sure. I got to be honest with you. Until I see the
look at it. Your brothers, it's fine. Just find out, please. Your viewers deserve to know. Just go look one time. Your family.
I think it's legal if he's my brother. I think it's illegal if he's not my little brother, though. Yeah. Are they going to, speaking of the big game, do they have any plans to bring back the big game? And why wouldn't they bring it back? I mean, obviously I I think it was like 100K free roll for stars. They're giving 100K away to the potentially or more. Is that right? No, it would just be 100K if you lost.
It's 100, but I mean that's not the only cost involved. It is Big Game was a really, really expensive show to make, and the problem is that the to do it right, you really have to do it in America. Now it's never really dead. Okay, it's always still sort of like, like the Terminator when it's got like just a little blinking red eye. Like it's always still going over there, but over PokerStars. But the problem is that like to do it right really costs a lot of money, and the problem is that like people will don't really like to hear this, but the poker industry is not what it used to be. It's not making the same money that it used to, and also spending that kind of marketing doesn't get them the return on investment that it once did. So to do a show of that scale really is probably going to take a large market, aka the US, to open up again before that's possible. And also it's a really difficult thing to coordinate, to get those players together. And when we were shooting on US soil, we were shooting in Las Vegas, it was easier to do because Las Vegas is an easy sell. But at the moment we would have to do it in London or Barcelona, and to get a bunch of people to come all that way is also a really tough sell and is more cost, because at that point you have to tell them, well, we'll pay for it. And so at the moment, there's no plans to bring back the Big Game. I think our chances of seeing a different style cash game from PokerStars are higher in the next year to 18 months. But the Big Game, like I said, it's not dead, but it's not coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, I think less of a big problem is just in terms of creating content, is there's just sometimes not worth it really anymore. And with the new 24/7 channel, Poker Central, I believe it's called here in America, I mean, I guess this could change. I feel like they said they're going to be creating some new content, so they might have something in store for a new cash game. But what's your idea about that? Have you heard anything in your
I've heard a little bit. I've been in talks with one of the production companies who is doing a show to potentially do some consulting for them. At the moment, I haven't heard of any original programming from them that really I think is going to be like their flagship show. I think that at the moment they're focusing on acquiring old material and putting that out there. I think that the people who I've heard are in charge are very smart people and are very successful in other industries. So I really hope that they can make this work. It's not something that I'd be willing to invest my life savings in, because I just don't know. Like TV is a very different, it's like, look, there's numbers are down in TV across the board. I said, I joked earlier about how people don't own TVs anymore, but like, people on YouTube get more viewers. The YouTube's top bloggers, the Twitch top streamers get more viewers than like a lot of cable shows. And so to start a brand new cable network that is something as niche as poker is a risk. It's definitely a risk. So I hope that it works, because it's better for everyone in our industry if it does. And if anyone can do it, it's probably the people who are behind it right now. But I think that it's not going to be easy for them.
Yeah, I know Maury is one of the guys. Obviously, he's like responsible for a lot of the great poker shows, high stakes poker specifically, and Poker After Dark. I know he's a big part of that too. And obviously, I think I saw the same press release you might have seen, the names and what the people's credentials were and where they come from. And they definitely seemed like they had some pretty good credentials in terms of other networks and that they've worked with. But I mean, 24/7 poker now, it was going to be like high stakes poker, Poker After Dark, World Series of Poker. Like maybe, I don't know if they're going to be able to get any of the PokerStars EPT live streams or PCA.
So I don't know about the live streams, but I think we're going to see some PokerStars content on there as well. Yeah.
Well, that would I mean, if they can get PokerStars content on there, obviously you have so much more to then grab from. I mean, you could use old school NAPTs potentially if that was interesting. You could obviously do the Big Game, and you could do the PCAs, which I think are always good, the high rollers. So then they could have enough content. But I'm really curious to see what they're going to schedule. Like what's their prime time plan? Is it going to be like a World Series of Poker rerun? Like what's it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious as well. And obviously, if they decided that they were going to make some have a flagship show, I'd be like, I'm available. Like, I'm happy to come back to America anytime somebody wants to give me a job. So yeah, I will. I'm very curious as well. I mean, I'm excited. It's great. Like, it's something that, that as poker fans and as people who work in the poker industry, more people doing stuff with poker is good for us.
I definitely agree the same way. I think I've read a lot of like negative feedback on 2+2 when they're talking about the site, like, or the channel. Oh, this is 10 years too late. It's dumb. It's not going to work. Like, I mean, who cares? Like, it's something, whether it's going to work or not. I mean, let's see what happens. I think you should show support for it. Try to get the word out as best as you can, and maybe it becomes successful. But at the same time, those same people are also complaining that poker's dying. Everyone's getting good. There's no new players. But now when someone's trying to do something like that to get people in, you just immediately bring the negativity to the idea. And
yeah, absolutely. It's really easy to sit there and to be an armchair critic. It's easy to say things are going to fail because if they don't, who cares? Like, no one cares about your stupid post that you made on 2+2 4 years ago. And when they do, you're like, I was right. Like, it's just, I'm just not a very negative person in general. Like, sometimes you got to be realistic, but optimism doesn't cost anything, and being supportive doesn't cost anything. So I don't understand a lot of the negativity in the world. No.
Eric says, does he know if the super high roller bowl will be televised? I had Adam Altweiss from Aria on the last podcast a couple days ago, and I think that's their launching content, the super high roller bowl. I think that's one of their big things. That's like that's going to be Poker Central's main event.
Yeah, from what I understand, that's going to be their biggest and one of the only pieces of original content that I've heard of so far coming from those guys. I'm sure they have. By the way, I'm not an expert. I don't really have that much inside information on this stuff. Like I said, I have talked to some of the people, and I'm not really sure what's public and what's not, so I can't really say that much. But from what I understand, yeah, that's going to be their big, for lack of a better word, that's their flagship show for the moment. That's their big piece of original content.
Are you maybe get a job on that? Do a little announcing on that too?
No one's talked to me from them, so I don't think so. I think they must at this point already have that locked up and have their people together. And I think it's Maury doing that. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it is. And Maury's got his people that he uses. Obviously, he's got Lon and Norm. He has got David Tuckman. I think Ali Najad has worked a lot with Maury. I did, unfortunately, maybe like 3 or 4 months before Black Friday, had a meeting with Maury that was very promising. He flew me out to Vegas, and he was like, hey, how do you feel about doing some stuff for us? And I was like, well, okay, let's talk. And then before anything could really develop, Black Friday happened, and everyone pretty much put the brakes on making any real significant changes or new poker shows. So I hope that one day one day Lon and Norm are going to retire from doing poker, and I would be honored to be able to follow in their footsteps. I think that I obviously have aspirations that go beyond poker. I would, but so does everyone else. Not many people get there. Ali Najad has got like a legit show on Headline News now. That's awesome. Really happy for him. I would love to eventually move on and do some stuff that is beyond the scope of poker. However, if I'm also very happy to be what I think is really good at the job I'm doing now. And I think, the sort of the pinnacle at this point of what you can do poker TV commentator wise would be the World Series of Poker. But at the moment, Lon and Norm are really good at their jobs, and they are incredibly popular. And so one day if they decide to retire and they wanted to think of me for that job, that'd be fantastic.
Ivan Zarati says, hey, Poppy, what's up? I finally catch a live podcast. Big fan of your podcast. Been watching as many as I can in the past 2 weeks. Good job, man. Keep it up. Ivan, much love. Welcome to the motherfucking live stream. What you said is interesting because you probably could be doing some other things on your own, independent from your PokerStars affiliation. I mean, you could be doing stuff on YouTube, for instance. You could be. Do you ever think about doing stuff like that? Like just in terms of maybe just creating your own stuff, whether it's like a video or like a series where you're traveling and you kind of like give people a different perspective on your life, or if it, you know what I mean? Have you thought about doing any ideas like that are sort of independent from that, but also sort of building your own thing that's not with necessarily with poker commentating?
For sure. And part of that now is doing stand-up. Like I always sort of considered myself some kind of comedian, but I didn't really do stand-up. Like I tried it once in 2002. Bobby Lee, who is a friend of mine, convinced me to do stand-up at the Comedy Store back in 2002 for my first time ever. And it went pretty badly. Not as bad as it could for someone's first time ever, but it was not really that inspiring to the point where I didn't do it again for 10 years.
Wow.
And then around 2012, I started doing it again here and there with Huff. Occasionally we would check out some open mics in Los Angeles, but it's not until about a year ago in London that I really started going headfirst into it. And I was like, you're a fucking tool, man. Like, you think you want to be a comedian, I never really called myself a comedian until then, but like, it's like you call yourself a chef, but you can't chop vegetables. Like, get out there and start doing stand-up. So I do stand-up 3 or 4 nights a week now in London when I'm in town. Basically I have plans to move back to America in the fairly near future. Maybe as early as summertime. I'm going to probably move to the New York/New Jersey area. I'm still going to work for PokerStars. Nothing's really going to change there. I don't think. I'm going to fly back and forth instead now. I'm going to do stand-up in New York. And yes, I'm looking for something else to do. I'm more than likely going to start up doing a podcast again. That is more, that is mine. I will be asking Huff if he wants to participate in it. I don't know what his answer is going to be. He's married and has a baby and has a very important, busy job in New York, but he's right there. And if not, I'm going to be looking for stuff to do on my own. That's part of the reason why I'm coming back, because it's time to start doing some other things. Part of the reason I don't is because PokerStars is really, really good to me. They're amazing to me, and I work a lot, and I do a lot more than just EPT TV shows, EPT Live. I do the podcast. I do various little gigs for them where I go like teach poker at a casino. I'll do a quick little voiceover for a commercial. I'll do some stuff for the social media department. I do a Google Hangout. I go to I go do a Canadian TV show for the Canadian market. I go do a scoop show last year for the Scoop Final Table. I'm like pretty busy with stuff from Stars, so it doesn't really leave me a ton of time for personal projects. But I'm hoping that if I can get to New York and sort of back in a market where I'm sort of a little more comfortable, that I'm looking for something else to do. Yeah, at the same time as PokerStars. Yes.
In terms of the comedian stuff, I was like thinking out loud of random ideas, because I'm not really sure exactly like what the typical comedian would take to then, whether it's creating content or recording their live shows, or potentially like an idea. I'm just going to throw out random ideas out there, whether they're good or bad. Like, I guess you could do something where you can even use something like Twitch or like a live stream on YouTube where you're kind of like, you're practicing jokes, like taking people behind the scenes and like so let's say you're preparing a set and you're like, this is the kind of material I'm thinking about using. You're trying to build off that. You could do something where your fans are like incorporating with you. They're like giving you ideas or feedback on, just like that. That makes it fun also. And then at the same time, you might like discover some new things, and just like, that could be like
it's interesting. I like the idea of that. I probably wouldn't approach it in such a way where I'm telling people like, here's some things I'm thinking of trying during stand-up, because whenever stand-up comedy is delivered in that way, it's the people who are receiving it receive it differently. When I'm on a date and a girl's like, tell me some of your stand-up, like, it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. Now, if I do, like, I've done a couple of bits here with you that are part of my stand-up act that, will make people chuckle when we're doing them on a podcast. But if I'm like, guys, what do you think of this joke I'm going to do? I don't think it would really resonate. However, doing some sort of show where I just do it without telling people that's what I'm doing and just see what the reaction is, I think is certainly worthwhile. But it's an interesting idea. Even the way you presented it, it's a pretty interesting idea. Basically that's what me and Huff used to do on our show, was we would write out these stand-up bits during the news. It would be topical stand-up. during the part where we sort of just talk about our lives, it would be observational stand-up, but we just wouldn't present it that way. And then when you have someone else to bat it around with, it's a little more organic. But yeah, it was basically just us doing stand-up bits, but it was on a radio show rather than on a stage.
Deanne said a comment that a lot of people say that I don't agree with the viewpoint, which is that a ton of comedians have podcasts. So what people say to me is, when you tell them an idea, they're like, a ton of people already do that. And obviously everyone does everything. There's a ton of people that do anything. And I don't think you can really have that mindset or approach when you're going into doing anything, whether it's creating this or a podcast or literally doing anything, because starting a business, a ton of people already do everything. But your kind of goal or your objective or your challenge is to make it entertaining for whoever wants to enjoy it. So if you already have a base of people who are going to take in your content and enjoy it, like, it doesn't matter if there's all this other stuff out there. You're just trying to make yours as best as you can. Focus on yours. Don't focus on there's this, that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you sort of started touching on what my opinion on that is like, yeah, but I'll do it better. Or I wouldn't do it at all. And I had a podcast, and the podcast was actually, when Huff and I did our podcast, it was actually way more successful than we thought. What happened was iTunes, I don't know how they run it now, but iTunes used to not give you your data. They used to not tell you how many downloads you had. If you were in the top 10, you would know it because you would see it. And occasionally I think we hit number 7 once in comedy podcasts on iTunes. I mean, we weren't ahead of Adam Carolla, but we were ahead of like Doug Benson and a few other people. And we really didn't know how popular we were until Huff got offered this amazing job in New York, and he had a wife, and his wife wanted a family, and he needed to finally start making some money in his life and needed to go. He had been working for this producer basically in Los Angeles for years as his assistant, and said, I'm moving my operation to New York. I want you to come with me. You will not be my assistant. You'll be my head of development. And Huff was like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. And I was like, okay, go ahead. And so he left. And when he left, someone we knew, some connection, got us our numbers from iTunes. And the month that we quit, we had 100,000 downloads of our podcast. Nice. That's not millions, but it's something.
No, it's something
for a show that had no promotion, that had nothing but word of mouth ever. To have 100,000 downloads was a really big deal. So. And I do think that as much as I love the big game, Huff and Stapes is the proudest I've ever been of anything. I think it is. I'm not like a huge person to toot my own horn. I don't really like tweeting that much stuff, like shilling for myself, even on Twitter, about the stuff that I do, unless I think it's really great. So sometimes I'm even reluctant to tweet. There's a live stream today because I don't know how good I'm going to be that day. Sometimes I'm better. Sometimes I'm worse. Sometimes it's just, whatever. Most of the time it's a certain level. But like Huff and Stapes is something that I would tell anyone to listen to it, and you will enjoy it. It is a fantastic show. It is the most proud I've ever been of anything. And I think that if I were given the opportunity to do that show again, I don't care that if Louis C.K. has a podcast. I don't care that Mark Maron has a podcast. I don't care that Adam Carolla has a podcast. Ours will be as good or better.
Mm-hmm. One more idea. I was thinking about that. I'll just say it, and then you can do it. You can never think about it again or do anything. Maybe that was someone else listening. So you mentioned something about how you took news, or you took like something happening in your personal life and then kind of did stand up around it. I mean, obviously with YouTube being as big as it is, like something could be like creating a 10 to 15 minute short video, which is basically like that, whether it's related to poker or real life or a combination of your personal life or everything. Do something like that where you kind of like take these topics and, put your face behind it, and then whether it's kind of written out, planned out ahead of time. So it's not really just impromptu, but something like that, where it's like this 10, 15 minute video where someone can just watch you in a short time period and then kind of maybe enjoy you. Or I think a lot of people would probably support that too, because 10, 15 minutes, people like supporting things that are 10 or 15 minutes, I feel like. So
yeah, that's a very good idea. And that's a compliment too. I think, thank you, for having such faith in what people would want to watch me do. I think that's a very good, the weird thing for me though, right, is that I'm a crazy perfectionist. And so for example, when you see an episode of the EPT TV show, if you watch it on YouTube or on our website or whatever, for every 1 hour of that show, I prep between 4 and 6 hours. I spend writing everything I'm going to say on that show.
Really?
Yeah. When Huff and I used to do a 3-hour podcast or 2 hour, whatever it ended up being that week, 2.5 hours, we would spend 12 to 20 hours preparing for that podcast. If I did this 10 to 15 minute show, I would spend a lot of time prepping it and a lot of time editing it. And I would want to put graphics in. So if I was talking about, here's what happened in the NFL today, I would want an NFL thing and I would want to do all that. And so because I'm such a, the people on YouTube who have really successful channels don't do that. They're just like, hey, what's up, man? Blah, blah, blah. And there's a cut and there's a jump cut and there's this and there's that. And there's like maybe a tweet pops up, and that wouldn't work for me. And part of me needs to get over that. Like I need to get over that and maybe just do something that's no frills. But part of me will record that 10 or 15 minute video and it'll take me 6 days to release it because I'll want to make it perfect. Now, one thing that I did think about doing, you can tell me what you think of this idea. I never actually did it, but I bought all the equipment for it. Was I bought a GoPro and a suction cup sort of mount for it. And I was thinking I would do a shower blog because I tend to always come up with my best ideas when I'm in the shower. Obviously, I would not be nude, but just stick it up in the shower and just say everything that's on my mind while I'm in the shower and then just cut it down.
It's a great idea. Why don't you do that? It's a great. I mean, okay, first we'll go back to the unique idea. One, I haven't seen anybody do that.
Yeah.
Like that'd be fucking hilarious. I mean, that'd just be fun to watch. And it wouldn't be too long as well. So you can enjoy it in a short time.
Exactly. It's probably 15 minutes at the longest. I'd edit it down to probably 5 or 6. Well, you've inspired me, Joe. You've inspired me, and I think that maybe I'll give this a shot because again, that's the same situation where because I have a notepad, like a special notepad that I bought where you can write in the shower. It's called Aqua Notes or something, and so I'm constantly in the shower writing down stand-up bits as I think of them. Mm-hmm. So really, all I need to do is it's like you said, I can be trying out bits for stand-up. It's just people don't have to know. It's be like, here's what happened to me in the grocery store today. And then it's a bit, but it's just because most of my bits are based on things that happen in real life anyway. So I feel like this has been good for me. This has been inspirational. And maybe I will give that a shot when I get back to it.
You get a lot of messages from people who watch the podcast and a lot of things we talk about, they get motivated, they get pretty inspired. Cool. They get inspired to work harder or do something different with what they're doing in their own life. So that's, I'm just thinking, because just what you said, obviously I'm always thinking about the same ideas for things I could personally do for, just like fun things. And what separates people like me and you from other people is that good, or this would be great, like people would enjoy this, but then sometimes we just don't do it. And that's one of my biggest issues too, is just like, the podcast is easy. It's a live stream. I call you up. We start talking. I don't really do much prep. I don't have to do much planning. We just have a conversation. That's it. There's so many other ideas I have.
Have you ever had a guest that was like pulling teeth to get them to talk? Because like I'm, obviously I'm a talker and love talking about myself, which is fantastic for me to be on a 3-hour show where I get to do that. But have you ever had someone where you didn't do a lot of prep and they didn't talk that much and you're kind of like, is that when you're like, let's go to the shout outs again?
Well, there's only one person that came on that was interesting, but not in a necessarily enjoyable way, which was Sticky Rice. Have you heard of him, Sticky Rice?
I have. I've seen the clip, yes.
Yeah, so he came on, and I think he thought I was just like trying to troll him hardcore, attacking him and stuff like that, but necessarily wasn't true, and I just wanted to learn more about him. But that was the hardest. That was not the hardest one, but it was the most interesting because it wasn't like every other podcast I've done. But most of the people I have on, I feel like they tend to have a pretty good amount of success at poker. They know what the podcast is about. It's not like a mysterious thing. They know conversations. A lot of people I also know I'm friends with or I've known for a while. I've played with a lot too. So it's never really too hard. I mean, honestly, I feel like I can write down 20 topics in less than 2 minutes. And sure. For us, I haven't even looked at the things I wrote down. Like I've just kind of been going and then, going off what you said. And then some of the comments, I'll use them that people comment in the chat. For the most part, pretty easy, man. You just get people talking about their goals and get people talking about like how they got to where they're at or like what they enjoy or their hobbies or like what makes them good at what they do. And you tend to get some interesting.
Well, I think you're pretty good at what you do, if I can say so, Joe, because look, I started off in poker doing interviews when I was on PokerWire Radio and I struggled. I really struggled. My first interview ever on PokerWire Radio was Ted Forrest and I was fucking terrified. And I had 400 questions written for him, and I wasn't very good at like asking follow-up questions or going from topic to topic. Like, okay, he answered that one. What's the next one? And so you're pretty good at it. I think a lot of it comes from self-confidence, and you seem like a confident fellow. But I just want to say good work.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I guess I kind of tend to look at it when people say I'm like an interviewer or like an interview, I always like get offended kind of because I'm like a conversationalist. I know Bart Hansen, when he used to have people on his, he's always like, oh, it's a conversation. So I try to approach it from like not necessarily an interview perspective where I'm just like, all right, asking you this question, that's it. It's more like we're having a conversation, like, you know, you.
Sure. No, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the approach I've taken. But yeah, I could imagine like, yeah, well, also for you, I mean, so when you start off doing interviews in poker, you weren't necessarily a poker player. So it's a lot different. Like, I mean, I've been playing poker for like 8 years, so I have like a different perspective on it. I kind of like know some questions and ask, and I kind of can already know in my head where to follow up with just because I've done the same thing. Whereas if I was, you know, going to be talking with a comedian, for instance, if I was going to have different comedians on who just do stand-up or professional comedians, and they said something to me, I wouldn't necessarily know how to follow it up. Whereas if you talk to that same person, if they gave an answer, you already know in your mind, you're going here, here, here with that to follow up to get a good reaction out of them too. I think that's probably just, you know, I guess the advantage I have in terms of doing this is that I kind of already in my mind know where to go if someone says something too. So. Well,
you're good at it.
Oh, thanks. We're going to get a couple more questions in here. Ivan said, big fan of Stapes. He's the only reason my wife watches poker. If it's not an EPT, she won't watch because she thinks commentators are not funny. So thanks, Stapes, for making my marriage easier.
That's actually a huge compliment. Thank you very much, Yvonne or Ivan or whatever you want to go by. This is maybe the best compliment I can possibly be paid because this is exactly what my goal is when I go into the commentary. It is I want someone who is not a fan of poker to be flipping through the channels or to be forced to watch poker or to stumble on it accidentally and to be entertained and to go, you know what? I don't really know what's going on here, but this dude's kind of funny. Let me watch for a few more minutes. That's like my ultimate goal. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, much love, Ivan. Thanks for tuning in. That is his first time here, Ivan. Kevin said, I feel like Poppy is super smart G2. Besides making great friends, he gets relationships with top poker players. He gets to stay close to them. Yeah, I've people I had on the podcast. I did some rock climbing this weekend with a couple people I had on a podcast before, and I probably would have never went rock climbing with them had I not had them on a podcast. So I think that's like another cool thing that comes from it too. Like I'm sure me and you are going to do some real life young girl, daughter girl grinding at some point in time. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but probably be able to talk about those things on the podcast. But at the same time, it comes from the podcast.
Well, no, that's the thing is you always afterward, you decide like, okay, how much of this story can we tell? And you always figure out some part of it to tell.
Yeah, there's always a bit of it. I mean, you always got to, you might have to omit some of the more.
No, exactly. It's like the government documents, like redacted, pussy fart.
Show of Force says, sup, bros. I get to see the Stapes guy live. He's such a funny Kent. I don't know what Kent means, but
I think maybe he's trying to say the C word, but in a non-offensive way.
He might be. All right, guys, we'll take a couple questions from you guys in the chat. I know you guys have been asking some questions along the way. I picked a few of them out, but if you have some good ones now, go ahead. Give it to us in the chat. It could be about life, love, women.
I'm not following the chat. Should I be, or should I just let you handle that?
I mean, you can. It's just people commenting along the way. So
I'll let you handle it.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, it's like we got a lot of comments today. So on one hand, I try to work the comments in. On the other hand, I wanna have be talking with you. So
I'll let you steer the ship. I don't need to be distracted by the comments.
Yeah, well, they're sometimes I'm so used to doing them. Like somebody asked me last time, how do you pay attention to what the person's saying and also read the chat? And I'm like, well, I 24 tabled, for like 7-8 million hands. So this is easy to pay attention to.
It's just two things, guys.
Yeah, this is two things. This isn't very difficult. So Corey says that he talked about how he got into poker commentating. Yes, at the beginning. That's like that's the beginner questions. A couple people, Wim and Marcus, want to hear Negreanu and Ivy stories, please.
I mean, Marcus, thanks for your question. I've told numerous Negreanu and Ivy stories over the year. I think it was Bluff maybe it's Poker News. I'm sorry guys for confusing the two, but did this thing called Ivy Stories recently, maybe about a year ago, and I told one on the air there. So just go Google that, go check that out. I don't want to bore everyone who's heard it before. Pretty much every story I could tell about Daniel that is suitable for air, I've told already. But yeah. So, and I don't have a ton of Ivy stories. I guess there's one Ivy story that I haven't told much of. The first video that I ever made for Card Player I ever produced. We went to Barry Greenstein's house, and Phil Ivey happened to be there. And we got him, we call it the World Series of Pac-Man, and we got Phil playing the Pac-Man machine at Barry's house. And then we sort of cut it together later to make it look like Huff was playing against him. But yeah, it was like, we got to see like a more fun side of Phil. And I think the legend of Phil Ivey has grown so much over the years, and that he kind of enjoys that legend. So he's been sort of like more reclusive acting as time has gone on. But we managed to get him way back in the day, you know, playing Pac-Man and having a laugh. So I think you can still find that on YouTube possibly too. But that was fun. That was a fun day playing Pac-Man with Phil Ivey.
Yeah, Phil Ivey. He just says, hey, he has one of these like very rare, legendary, like completely legendary, like, reputations in poker. And
yeah, I've met him so many times, and it wasn't until Monte Carlo a couple years ago, I think, that he really clocked who I was, and we had a good night. But that's the subject of the Ivy story. So you go check that out if you guys want to hear that story.
That's on Poker News, right?
I think it was Poker News. I think it was Remco was doing that on Poker News. So I think that's
shout out to Donnie, shout out to Rich Ryan over at Poker News, man.
Oh, I also, that's the thing, is I wrote it. I've been writing the last column in Bluff magazine. Now it's not a paper magazine anymore, but like for like 2 or 3 years, Huff and I were doing it at first for 2 years, and then maybe like 2 years afterward, I was doing it, the final column, like the last page of Bluff magazine, and I wrote a 2-part article about that story. That's how long and how good it was. The story was, by the way, not the writing. So you guys can probably find that somewhere on the Bluff article. So if you want to read about it, you go to Bluff. If you want to see me tell the story in a video, go to Poker News.
Does he have a man crush on anyone on the EPT circuit? Luke Armstrong asks.
Oh, I have a man crush on so many people on the EPT circuit. Who is awesome? Lex, I got a man crush on. I got a man crush on Ike. For certain reasons, you know, Ike is just absolutely brilliant. Oh, sorry, Hollywood Haxton.
Oh, okay, Hollywood Haxton. I wasn't sure you're talking about.
Hollywood Haxton, excuse me. Who else? Theo Jorgensen, I have a man crush on. He's just so cool, old school dude. There's tons of people to like and to have man crushes on. Who's just like an absolute baller? I got a man crush on Griffin Benger. That guy's super cool. We have like the same sort of sensibilities as far as like humor and being nerds and stuff like that. He's a good kid. I don't know. There's lots of good kids in poker. I'm not sure if I have like a super huge man crush on anyone. Who am I like dying to hang out with? Who I just...
Yeah, I wonder if it's a man crush is like someone you like thinks like a boss, or somebody like you'd like to hang out with and like maybe get a drink with or party with, or I wonder. I guess you could kind of approach the idea of a man crush a couple different ways.
Yeah, no, it's more like who, if I like heard other people were hanging out with, would I be jealous?
That's a good way to look at it. That's a different way to look at it too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, like when I like every once in a while, someone's got like an Ivy story, and I'm like, oh shit, why did I go to bed that early that night? Like I could have been hanging out. Ivy's probably the big one still. Like everyone loves to the next day having like been like, you know, I was just like hanging out with Phil Ivey last night. No big deal. We just had like bottle service. Just
humble bragging it up. Like, we didn't do too much. It was fine.
I guess, you know, Antonio used to be one of those guys. He's not around that much anymore, and he's sort of calmed down a little bit, but he was one of those guys that you're like, I wish I'd been there for that. There was a grinder at PCA this year. One of like the production assistants on our TV show ended up waking up on the floor of Grinder's hotel room at like 7 a.m, which is pretty good. I miss being able to have those stories. The problem is now that like my job's really important. Like back when I didn't have an important job, I used to do all this crazy shit. The first time I was ever on camera for Card Player, I was supposed to be on camera at noon, and I walked out of the strip club at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I went and I was on camera.
What time did you get to the strip club?
2, 3 in the morning.
What are you doing at the strip club for 8? What are you?
Spending a lot of someone else's money, pretty much. So yeah, so I walked out of the strip club like it was just blazing daylight, just like, oh no, please don't. And I had to be on camera like an hour later. And if you, the video doesn't exist anymore, but when we watched the video back, you could see like a flicker of like glitter, like one little flick of glitter on my nose, like every time I turned my head a certain way. But now it's too important. Like if I show up fucked, they're like hungover for a live stream, like I just might not ever get hired again. There's too many eyes around me, too many people are paying attention, there's too much money being spent on those productions. So I just don't get to do the partying that I want to anymore.
8 fucking hours in a strip club? I just don't understand what you can be doing. I don't understand.
It was 9 in the morning, but all I know is I had to go straight from being there. Maybe I got there. Maybe it was 6 hours. Maybe I was there from like 3 to 9.
What are you doing for 6 hours in a strip club too? God damn, man.
You get there, you spend like an hour and a half just sort of hanging out. You figure out which girl you like, and you wait for everyone to give you their pitch. And then you go to, you've never been through this before,
okay, so you're smart. You take a GTO perspective. You like to hear everyone's pitch. See, some guys, first pitch, they're like, let's go.
Right.
Let's get right fire. It's a lot of girls go through.
I've been that guy before too, but the problem is when you're that guy and you're too eager, the experience you get is wholly different than the experience you get when you're like not that into it and like just sort of maybe like a little embarrassed about it and maybe sort of meek about it. Like I was the guy that used to, like, when I was getting a lap dance, I would sit on my hands.
What?
Right. The thing is, it sounds crazy, but I would sit on my hands and then the girls would be like, oh, what are you doing? No, come on. And then they take your hands and then they put them on themselves. So I probably get there at 3, spend an hour and a half just having a few drinks. Then you spend like 30 minutes off to the side talking to a girl who's like trying to get you to go to the back. Then you go to the back for an hour. You come back out. You spend like another hour and a half. I mean, it's not that hard to spend 6 hours in a strip club, especially if someone else is paying the bill.
Well, if someone else is paying the bill, now we got a different story. If it's us paying the bill,
No, it was back in the day. Look, and the other thing is I was really lucky that I came up in poker, not like a poker player, but I was around when everyone had money.
True.
Everyone had money. Like in 2006 and 2007, like the websites were just giving money away. When I checked out of the Rio in 2007 or 8, when I was working for PokerWire, and it was owned by Full Tilt. Now, this isn't going to be that great of a story considering Full Tilt owes so many people money now, but when I checked out of my hotel room at the Rio, my room service bill was $13,000, and they just signed it off. No problem, Stapes. $13,000. They were like, sure, sounds good. So everyone had money back then. No one cared, and so and it all trickled down, right?
How long were you at the Rio for?
I was there for like 45 days or something.
13.
I don't know what that adds up to. What is that per day? Hold on. Okay, some listeners will get it before I do, but 13,000. It's like almost $300 a day in room service.
What are you ordering? It's Rio. It's not like Monaco. It's just the goddamn Rio.
We used to, so we would it'd be like me, Amanda Leatherman, this guy named Jeremy, who is like our videographer, our friend named Al, who online, if you remember, used to go by the name Al Effects. And we would just be hanging out in my hotel room, like prepping the next day's show. And we'd be like, should we order some lunch? And they'd be like, yeah, let's get some lunch. So we would call room service and we'd go, who wants pizza? And 3 people would raise their hands and be like, okay, 3 pizzas. And then 2 people would be like, and then one guy would be like, I also want a bowl of cereal. And should we just get a lobster? Does anyone want some lobster? Yeah. And just one, can we just get 1 lobster also? And then it was at the time when Lucky Strike Bowling Alley was in the Rio also. So we used to go to Lucky Strike, get 4 lanes for 6 people, order all the food and drink we could, get bottles, and then we would just put it on somebody's room afterward. That's the thing. I wasn't even the only room. Like there were a bunch of other rooms where people had similar charges on their account. So, but my whole point is, this is back when no one really cared. Everyone had tons of money to spend. Ultimate Bet was throwing money around. PokerStars was throwing money around. People were getting bought into tournaments. Everyone had money. Like it was the heyday. Like poker was easier back then too, right? So like Joe Seabach had a couple of big scores in poker tournaments. So this particular strip club experience, he walked in and put down his credit card and said, I want 15 grand in funny money. And they handed him all this different colored money. And it was actually awesome. When we were leaving, he had a bunch left, and the women descended on him like vampires. Like everyone just sort of was like just grabbing here and there. And he was like, okay, fine, just get away from me. So it was a really good time to be starting in poker. And it's actually part of the reason why when people ask me, hey, how do I get a job as a blogger or working? I try to discourage them, because I'm like, no one has money anymore. Like, no one gets paid. Like the bloggers, the people who work for Poker News and the people who work for blogs, like, make a really an amount of money it's really difficult to get by on. And like, we all got by because there were generous poker players around who pretty much paid for everything for us. But even the poker players don't have that much money anymore. So it's really it's a totally different time. And I'm lucky that I came in at such a great time. And people now have it really hard.
Yeah, I think people were a bit. I think also the people that were successful at poker back then are different than the people that are successful at poker right now. People right now kind of identify that you need to be a little bit more frugal with some of your money.
They're smarter with their money. Like, you're talking to people who are GTO experts, right? Which means that they're also not going to be that dumb with their money. The guys don't like. All the guys in the World Series of Poker in 2005 that were winning bracelets will walk out and dump half of it in the pit before they even got to the parking lot. That shit just doesn't happen anymore. Everyone was stupider with their money, and the game was easier. And so, now everyone's too smart. Like people who are ballers, people who are EPT champions, people playing super high rollers are bunking up. They have roommates. When they come, they're playing €100,000 tournament. And they're sharing a hotel room. Like, it's just, it's a different time.
Yeah. Andra Malachuk says, Joe, can I be a guest commentator on EPT Prague?
Andra? Yeah. Absolutely not.
Not going to be able to do it. All right. Sorry, buddy.
Can't have you. Sorry, Andra. Andra's a very supportive guy. I recognize the name. He's fantastic, but can't do it. Can't have you in the booth. You can be a guest commentator on when Joe Ingram and I go out and try to pick up girls. You can commentate on that.
We're going to need a commentator on that for sure, but you can, I don't know. I guess Andre, you can come do that too.
Commentator / designated driver. Okay, moving on.
Marcus Lidget says, will there be a challenge Stapes in Monaco?
Yes, there will be a challenge Stapes in Monaco. At the moment, we are debating what the 3 challenges are going to be, so I can't really give them away. But I do believe one of them is going to involve me getting my back waxed.
That sounds fucked. You look like you have a hairy back, man.
I would have a hairy back, but it is the one part of my body that I believe – well, there are 2 parts of my body I believe in keeping relatively hair-free, and it is the back. Like, I feel like, look, that – people need to accept me for how I am with the chest hair that I've got, but back hair is something that needs to be taken care of. However, I've specifically been growing it out for this particular challenge, so I really hope that it ends up on the slate, because I've had to explain it to some people I'd have rather not explained it to.
Eek. Maybe like a daughter of an oligarch type of challenge where you need to go around and woo a daughter of some sort of baron or oligarch.
That sounds fantastic. I really wanted to do that type of challenge, but unfortunately, I think it comes off like picking up chicks is a little misogynistic. It's a little sexist to make it a challenge to essentially score.
Feminists gonna be mad about that. That's a good point. Show of Force says, what year of Romania? I'm Romanian, would definitely hang out. A couple people asked us about Romania.
A year of Romania is just a gag I do on the show, or whenever someone mentions the Romania, I say it's the year of Romania, and it doesn't really matter what year it is. It's always the year of Romania.
Shout out to Romania, man. Those Romanian girls out there.
Agreed.
Chris Strange says, you still in San Diego? Of course, if I wasn't in San Diego, I would not be in this Airbnb right here. I found some very nice loft here, and I'm always confused. Like, how don't people copy the keys and then come back in and like steal something when they're not here? You know what I mean? You ever done Airbnb?
I've never done it. I signed up for it when I used to commute back and forth from LA to London, and I was going to maybe rent my place out, but it ended up just being too much stress. I was like, what if somebody, like, I have like 500 DVDs here. If someone walked out with 2 of them, like, I would never notice. Like, just not worth the stress for like making $800 or something. So I didn't end up doing it. But the guy who started Airbnb was in my same grade in high school. So that is a benchmark that I can never, ever, ever in my wildest dreams be as successful as the most successful person from my high school, because now he's a billionaire.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
That's like, that's at the reunion, like, what shot? Like, everyone's got their story, right? Like, everyone's like, I do this. And he's like, oh, I'm just a billionaire. Is anyone else here a billionaire? Because if you're not, I was just wondering, because are there any other billionaires here?
An actual billionaire too. Airbnb is sick, man. It's such a great idea. It really is. It's such a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, look at Airbnb and Uber are 2 ideas where you basically make money for nothing. You don't own anything. You have no assets whatsoever. Yet you're a billionaire. Good for you guys. Great job.
Daniel says, we need more impressions. This is like the best guess for impressions. All right, so we always ask people for a Jungle Man impression and a Durr impression and a Hollywood Haxton impression. We sometimes get them, we sometimes don't. But you seem like you might have a couple good ones for those people.
I'm actually really terrible at impressions, and the only reason I did the Haxton one, Hollywood Haxton, is because no one was expecting it of me, and so I just belted into it. I haven't spent enough time with Jungle Man to do an impression. Hold on. This is the only impression of Jungle Man that I can do. He seemed a little on the I'll just say edgy side. He seemed a little edgy when I met him. I used to do a Durr impression, but what about Ivy? Hey guys, what about Ivy? That was the only line I used to do.
Yeah, the voice is down so well.
Hey guys, what about Ivy? I don't know. I don't even know what that's from, but that's like some famous thing that he said one time. I'm really bad at impressions. I'm terrible at them in general.
You seem like you have the accents down. Like you did a French accent randomly earlier. I'm sure you probably have a good English accent too. You can just like throw these accents out.
My English accent is the worst, and I don't do it because English people just laugh at me. But you know who's really great at impressions, if you guys ever get the chance, is Hardigan. You wouldn't expect it because he's like the straight man, but he does. He's really good at like doing the guy that you don't think anyone can do an impression of, but he just gets their cadence and their pattern down like perfectly. But yeah, Hardigan's really good at impressions. Oh, and you know who's maybe the best in all of poker? Randall Flowers does sick impressions. He does Grinder. He does Phil Locke. He does Ike. He does Ike that's a million times better than mine. Excuse me, if you guys ever get the chance to hit him up, he is fucking fantastic at impressions.
Well, I guess that goes to one of my last questions, which is, do you suggest 2 guests for me to have on that you think would be entertaining, fun, that'd be interesting coming on at some point in time?
Well, if you can get him, I think that Phil Locke is just one of the most entertaining poker players of all time. Like, I would watch anything that he's on. I would watch him read from the phone book. He's absolutely hysterical. He's complete crazy pants. I love the guy. He is great. If you want to have like a deep intellectual conversation, Igor Kurganov is an incredibly interesting guy, and is really into metaphysics and cosmic realities and whatever, like any like deep subject you can possibly get into. Igor is a super interesting dude. Who else? The weird thing is, I don't know, like everyone's so different now. Like, I used to just do short form interviews with old school. It was so funny when I used to do my interviews. Like, Seabach was my boss basically, and I remember one time getting the directive, "Hey, look, no more internet guys for a while." Because at the time, it was no one cared about them. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, get Doyle, get Phil, get the other Phil, get the other Phil, get all the Phils, and then, okay, Alex Jacob. We'll settle for like one Alex Jacob this week. Where now, all of those guys, other than Alex, who's just destroying on Jeopardy, but like all those guys that were considered internet guys back then, like Scott Seaver and Ike Haxton, are like the biggest names on tour at this point, other than maybe say Daniel and Phil Ivey. So yeah, it's weird that Scott Sievert's got to be probably a very interesting dude. He's very vocal on social media about social issues. I like following him on Twitter. It seems like he's got a lot to say. Seems to have pretty eclectic taste in music and or film too. I don't know who else is going to be value like me. He'll just talk nonstop for 3 hours.
Oh man, I think everyone is different. I don't necessarily think you talk. There's definitely people that talk more than you. I think you're much better at, you've asked me some things too, and you're much better at like interacting and like going off of something that I might say too. Whereas some people aren't necessarily as good as that. But that's also because you just have more experience with it. You have more experience talking with people and trying to feed off of what the other person's saying and then respond to what they're saying too.
Yeah,
so
I just want to make a good show.
Yeah, definitely. That's always a good goal. I think we'll probably wrap it up now. It's been kind of a while, but I remember you asked me how long are the podcasts normally, like how long do they last? And I told you, I was like, I don't know. Like I don't have a length. Like sometimes we just go until it's like long, and then you look at the clock and you're like, oh shit, it's been quite a long time.
I was warned that typically one of the members of our staff here is like a huge fan of your podcast, and he warned me that generally they're about 3 hours long. So I knew to expect that. Basically, what I didn't know is if you were having me on as a guest segment, or if this is your show is just this. And so, yeah, I'm happy to do it, man. It's been a good time.
For sure. Oh yeah, definitely. It's all just standalone stuff. So every guest is just like its own thing. And that way, if you're on YouTube or on iTunes showing your one, man, check it out. Yeah, you can just, pick who you want to listen to, enjoy it.
Okay, great. So you do an audio version of this on iTunes also.
What'd you say?
So you put an audio version of this out on iTunes.
Yeah, it took me 1 year. 1 year of people asking me constantly, but I finally put them all on iTunes, and you just look up my name on there, Join Your One. And then, so now it's on iTunes, so people can listen to it.
That's good, man, because for 2.5 hours, people, it's hard to sit at a computer for that long, but people love listening to podcasts on their commute or whatever, or on an airplane. So it's a very wise move, my friend. Good work.
Yeah, I find a lot of people, like, while they're playing, they just put it on in the background. They don't really watch the video. They just listen to the audio version of it, too.
Yeah, good move.
All right, you want to follow Stapes on Twitter? It's at Stapes, Stapes. Where else can we check you out at? EPT Live in Monaco. You're going to be doing that. EPT Not Live podcast for 14 days. I believe you said you're going to be doing that too.
We're doing 9 days of EPT Live from here in Monaco, which you can find at PokerStars.tv. EPT Not Live podcast is on iTunes and it's on Stitcher. There's other ways to get it. If you just Google it, you don't have to have iTunes necessarily. I occasionally will throw some clips of my stand-up up on YouTube. I believe my YouTube name is 2Jacks Joe. I don't put too much of that out there though, because I want people, if they come see me live, to not
be surprised.
Not have it all online. What else? That seems to be good. Yeah, you've done a good job with the plugs. As long as and if you're in the UK or even if you're not, new episodes of the EPT TV shows come out. They air every Tuesday night in the UK around midnight, and then they get released on YouTube and on PokerStars.tv the next day.
Cool. All right. DJ Alex Lee said, Joey, some GTO for hairstyling. How you shape them so good. We have the same haircut but different look. You rock it always. I'll talk some hair, GTO. I did a side one today. I didn't put it back today, guys. You could have went this way. You could have went the pony. You could do a lot of stuff with the hair, man. It's such a strong hairstyle, man. But
it's weird. Is my expectations of you because of your haircut and or your Twitter photo where you're screaming. I thought you were going to be like up on a chair like this the whole time, like jumping around the room, like it was going to be 3 hours of you just being, like on Adderall. So I wasn't sure what to expect.
I think my Twitter photo was like one of my favorite when I was raging all the time. I was in Europe. I was in Australia living there, and I just went to music festivals constantly, and that was from that time. But it's like a real catchy photo. When you see it, you're just like, oh, I know who that is.
You remember that guy. Yeah, the story checks out.
Yeah, I don't remember that guy, unfortunately. That was quite a long time ago. But yeah, guys, I'll be back Wednesday night with Krantz, Jay Rosenkrantz, who's one of the legends of the online poker world.
Jay and I went to the same college.
You and Jay did?
Yeah, we both went to Boston U.
Oh man, I'm excited to have him on. I don't know what he's been up to these past couple of years, and he's obviously had some really sick stories from crushing online poker years ago. So that'll be Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I think. And then I'm not sure, nothing else scheduled for right now, but check my Twitter and Facebook group for anything coming up on Thursday or Friday potentially. So, Stapes, thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It's great meeting you, man. Hope we can hang out in person sometime.
We definitely shall. We're going to have some fun. So guys in the chat, peace out. See you next time.
Bye you later.